Two, check. Hello. What do we think about this? Look at this. Big changes being happening around here, folks. Only 1% bisexual. That's true. It's not. I might be able to. I'll work on that. Okay? I'll work on that. Or you know what? Maybe we can go back here. No, still not very bisexual. Okay, I feel like maybe the message I'm getting here is too bright. Okay, we can turn that down maybe a little bit. That's already better, I think. Right? That's already better. It's going to take me a while to get used to this and like where to look and stuff. What if I'm down here? No, that's too dark. Okay, what if I'm down like that, but up like this? What about that? Is that better? Is that not bright enough now? It's getting lens flares off the Lenin bust. What if you turn the contrast in a way that makes you appear anime? That would be the really the way to elevate this stream. Gotta go back here. That's got to go back there. I'm just totally blocking it now. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. This is going to take me some time to get used to, okay? Because I had wanted to start using this like wide shot again. Also, I was noticing I've got to look at my settings every single day because whenever I leave it, shit gets turned back on. The auto low light adjustments get turned back on. And I was noticing, especially the last stream on Friday, it just looked so choppy. And I was like, God, I got to fix this. I got to fix this bullshit. I'm not smooth enough. We don't have Smooth Rob anymore. I lost it. Okay, I have some ideas about how to make the lighting a little bit more bisexual. So I wanted to fix the video quality and open it up to the wide lens, but
Rob to talk you through all this.
Rob is talking about his camera when he should be talking about my many months of loyal support.
Thank you, Red Scary. Thank you. Look at that, 25 entire months of Red Scary. Tier 3 resub. Thank you, Red Scary. Red Scary, a true hater. A true hater. We can all learn a valuable lesson about hating from Red Scary, who subscribes to this very stream for 25 entire months, resubs at tier 3, despite hating me and the community. That's really dedication. That's dedication to hating that I don't think enough of us are tuned in on. And we can all do better. We can all do better, Move this light over here. This is going to just take a little bit of time for me to get used to. Like I said, I had wanted to change the camera angle for a while, but
You can count on
Can you
me.
stop?
We're gonna have
No.
good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I can't stop it. This
Keep
is
your
my
heads
stream.
on a swivel, chat. Rob is now right of chat, meaning we might be 2 to 3 months from a debate stream.
Oh my goodness. Marty, thank you very much for the 22 months resub at tier 2 and for all your support as well, Marty. Can I stop though? No, I cannot. But when the camera's over here on this monitor, and when it was the wide angle, you saw like into this hallway section here, and then you can see like the radiator and stuff, and it just wasn't really cool. And when I tried it over here, I realized now you can see the shelf. There's a nice white background. If I fix the settings up, I'm not all choppy. I look like an actual proper like streamer, Twitch streamer, which is like what I'm supposed to be doing. It might not be quite at the brightness level that I need. I'm not sure. Once again, here's with the exposure up and the brightness down. Yeah, I think that's how we want to adjust that. I think that's how we want to adjust that. I can maybe boost that saturation a little bit. A little more color. Okay. That's not bad. And now I think I need the light more over here. Now we have a little bit more of the bisexual action happening. I do need to adjust the chat box too. I need some like some outline or some more shadow on the chat. I think it looks good, and if you ever get some art or a poster behind you to your left. There? Yeah. Yep. That'd be good. The new merch design we're talking, because I was talking about, I was like, it's so fucking good that I want to frame it and put it on my wall. It's just tremendous. The job that Old Dutch did on the Friendship Triangle reunion merch is absolutely fantastic. Well, needs a giant portrait of our man Enver. That would be good too. That would be good poster. That would be good too. Where are those posters? A perfect place for them. That's true, Dimitri, but they're right in front of me. Like I can see them right in front of me. And I like where they are on my wall right now. My wall, I've got right in front of me here, I have some really cool propaganda posters that I got from Propagandopolis. I recommend from Dimitri. Here's another question as well for you, chat. Can I look like this? Oh, and by the way, speaking of merch, look at this. I got a new Friendship Triangle TRRS Fighting Momo's shirt in the hoodie in the mail. I had the shirt version, now I've got the hoodie version in gray. It looks good. The Fighting Momo is in heavy rotation. Me too. I genuinely love all the merch we made for this channel, and I don't want to disparage any of the other merch, such as the merch Marty made, like what I'm wearing right this very moment, which I love. But I was describing this design I had in mind on Friday, and Old Dutch came through on the weekend with just the absolute taking the image directly from my mind and put it into a design, and it is so cool. I'm looking forward to dropping this. This is going to be an instant purchase for me. Okay, so I'm going to put you over here. Look, now I'm back here. Okay. Here's one of the questions as well. Okay. So chat, these are all the different angles. I think it looks good. I feel pretty good about this. And I'm much smoother. I'm back to being smooth Rob. Okay. Will TeePublic allow printing on the sleeves, or are you going to need to find another avenue? I'm going to have to look into that. I'm going to have to look into it. I'm not so sure. We may need to find another avenue for that one. It could be like a special drop. Like there could be a TeePublic design that's just the design, and then there could be a special drop for true committed community members. We can take a look at it if you want. It's so cool, honestly. God damn. It is so cool. Oh, this has to be full screen. Right, okay. Oh, man. That is so old Dutch. It's so fucking good. I'm serious. I can't even, I couldn't imagine anything. This is like literally exactly kind of what I was describing on Friday. It's so cool. Yeah, I would like to get this just framed right. Like that could go right there if I wanted to. Maybe for now I should stay over here and then I can see the chat on the screen. I think I like the wide angle, but I need to do something about you, chat. I think we don't see you enough on the white background. I can put a little gray rectangle, maybe just to make it better. Maybe there's a way with just more outline or more shadow. For right now, maybe we have to go over here. This should be more about us, the chat. That's right. Well, it's, not 50-50, but you should be there. We got to see you. There's a drop shadow that's a little darker gray. Let's check this out. We're doing some live tech support here. Everyone's favorite. I believe it's this one. Okay. Settings. Position. Got opacity. Text settings. It's bold. Shit, not that. Not that. Not that. Is it this? That's no good. Now you're gone. Chat, talk to me. Are you there? Was this a bad idea to do this? Was this a bad idea to do this, chat? Where are you? That's not it, is it? That's not it. I don't think that'll do it either. I fucked it up! There is a secondary text shadow, but I don't know exactly how to make it more prominent. You fucked it up! Now you're gone again. Now you're gone. Okay, I need you to chat one more time. I'm not going to do this right now, okay? I'm not going to do this right now, chat. We'll get to the bottom of this. Thank you. Okay? Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. When I look... Here's when I look at you. Okay, chat, I'm looking at you right now. I'm looking at you right now. I'm looking at chat. Here's how I would normally look. Here. Is it like disconcerting if I'm looking slightly off center? Can I look here? Does that look weird or does it look not weird? You know? What do you think? Because then sometimes you can be over here too. Like, I could be talking to you over here. Like sometimes I'm looking at you over here. I just got here, but whatever you're doing, it looks fine. Thank you, G Clippy. I think this is a good way to do it because then I can really see the chat. Lennon Smash wants pure eye contact. Okay. And then I'm over here again. We'll get there. Okay? We'll get there. This is really a last minute. Like, I was not planning on making these technical changes. It was literally kind of like a on a whim thing. I wanted to do the wide angle. I wanted to make myself more smooth again. And then I was like, why don't I try this? Why don't I try this? And now here we are. Here we are still talking about it. Here we are still talking about it. And it's as bad as you making drastic changes with no warning. Shave the mustache again for more smooth Rob. I don't think I can ever, like, even though I shaved my mustache from where it was before, I don't think I can ever go to be full clean shaven. I don't think, cause like, I just don't think I can do it. I came close a couple months ago whenever that was. I came close, but I can't like do a shave every day thing. I'm not going to ever do that. So I think it's my best bet as far as that is concerned is having somewhere around this at all times. I do sometimes, I must say I look back on some of these streams from a few months ago and I miss the full mustache. I kind of do. But I don't know if I have the commitment to get back there again. As a bald guy, if I go full clean shaven, I look like a baby. Well, that's the thing. I have a really like babyish face to begin with. Like, I can't grow a beard. I'm almost 40 years old and I can't even come close to growing a beard. So if I shave completely, I feel like I look like an old teenager. You know, it's not like I look like a teenager necessarily. I look like an old teenager. And it's a weird look. It's a really weird look. Rob needs to get that buccal fat removal trend like all the celebrities are doing. I gotta get some kind of removal. I'll tell you that much. This is what Teen Rob looks like. FYI. So I don't know. I think this is kind of where I'm at with that. Anyway, really excited to have this actual merch done. I'm really I love this design so much. It's so cool. I just want to. There's some tweaks we were talking about in the Discord, and I just wanted to talk about. I need to find someone that speaks Korean, like someone that actually speaks Korean, to make sure our Korean is top notch. I think it would be an insult if we just had Google Translate Korean on here. I think we got to make sure that the Korean is top notch. So that's the only thing. I'm going to try and track down someone that can correct that. The buccal fat removal craze has made me cool and subversive because I'm blessed with a round, babby face. Well, the same. I would look so strange like that. Although when you do see images of me from like 6-7 years ago, I was thin again, and I do look very different. I really do need to get in better shape. That's kind of one thing for this year. I made a reading commitment this year, and I absolutely do need to get in better shape. But Old Dutch, seriously, thank you so much again for this design. It's fucking fantastic. Honestly. It's so cool. I've seen a video where I can learn Korean in 30 minutes. Be right back. Oh, good. Nice. Nice. Kleppy's going to hold you to your reading list. I know. I maybe shouldn't have made the whole, like, slapping stipulation. Now this is... So this is way better, too, for the mic. I don't have to lean over so far. I think maybe it's hard for me to describe my setup to you because, like, okay, so I got a monitor right here, right in front of me here, and then swiveling over slightly right there. That's where you are. And I'm wondering if I need to take the whole setup and just go and shift the whole setup so there's kind of a V in front of me. And then I can kind of be back here. But it's definitely good to be able to talk into the mic here. Reading more is definitely on my list too, and being more involved with community stuff generally. I mean, that's the big one that I think we all need to be good on. I will say I try to use the mic during Scarynomics, and keeping your head still in front of the mic is so annoying. Well, that's why it's fun to have this sometimes. Sometimes it's fun to go like this. This is why I was glad to get this mic. My partner actually got this for me, which is very sweet of her. An actual XLR mic. Not USB, so I can kind of sometimes I'm like, hey, ho, hey, what's going on? What's going on over here? Oh, hey, yeah, I can kind of do that. That's fun. That's fun. I kind of feel like a real like radio guy or like a stand-up comic or something when I do that. That's always cool. Who's this character? I don't know. It's my just New York guy. Hey. Hey, I'm freaking walking over here. Oh, hey, over the. I learned this from my friend from Jersey, Joe Polito, Jersey legend, Joe Polito. And it's like when you're saying over here, it's like you want to say over here, like that. The here is not even pronounced. It's just hey over here. Oh, hey. Once again, folks, no matter what, there's a lot of different cultural differences between the different states of America. And I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is my ability to just kind of instantly step into any of these little local communities and just blend right in. I just blend right in. He can disappear. With any luck, he's got the Grail already. Got friends in every village from upstate New York to suburban Atlanta. He speaks 12 languages, knows every local custom. I want Rob to go to a corner store down here and try the voice. Just get assaulted. It's just so offensive. I looked up Southern accents and they're explained the way I say boil as the New York accent pronunciation of balls, which was so upsetting to hear. Oh no. Oh my goodness. To step into any one of those communities and instantly offend people there with his accent. That's right. When he goes down here to fool around like that. Yeah, I'll tell you what. What's your finest diet soda? I hear down these parts you got different kind of diet sodas, and I got up my way, and I was just wondering what sort of different variations. Is there any regional variations, the kind of diet soda you might have here? Excuse me. Calling it a diet soda will immediately get you mugged. So wait, that's pop country? Is that it? Pop? Is that what that would be? I know there's like pop pockets here in Canada as well, but not here. James Lipton voice. Robert, may we speak to Southern Rob? Oh my God. It's all just Coke. At least from where I'm from. Okay. My goodness. That's a good tip. Yeah, I'll have a Coke. What kind? Reckon I'll have a Dr. Pepper. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. As an Italian, the ones from St. Leonard and Montreal have the funniest accents, like they're pretending to be from Jersey. That's great, because that's the Jersey Quebecois. That's an interesting mix, interesting cultural variation. See, Sinchao knows. Sinchao is a verified Texan. She understands. She knows I can do the accent perfectly. So does James Ed Smith. Is very familiar with my ability to mimic these different cultures. I'll never call it pop. No, it just feels weird. It's like, what, am I 7 years old? Am I 7 years old? Can you give me a pop, please? One soda pop, sir. Like, no, come on. We're adults here. We're adults here. We don't need to do this. Apparently, you can only have a southern accent if you also smoke cigarettes, according to Rob. Interestingly enough, that's how you have a Quebecois accent as well. It's when you must have this outside. It's not just the pronunciation. Là. C'est comme le... Il y a quelque chose à faire quand on fume tous les cigarettes, tout le monde, toute ta vie, là. In your throat there. And the pronunciation is only a small part. Là. You know? So it's not just the southern United States that is like that. You know? I wish everyone in this chat an opportunity to have a Dublin, Texas Dr. Pepper. It's so good. That does sound nice. What is the PNW accent? I don't know. I mean, I've heard people from the Pacific Northwest speak, and that to me is just like a normal. I would just describe that as a normal accent. I would just describe it as like, yeah, they just talk like it's just normal. They sound normal. I like when people say vehicle as vehicle. Yeah. That's right. You have to sound like you have bronchitis and a sinus infection. Yeah, don't ask me why. Don't ask me why, but you just do. Majority. Hey. Listen, what's the root word in that one? Major. Majority. You're the one that says it weird, not me, sir. In Austin, every restaurant has a Dr. Pepper, whether it's a Coke place or a Pepsi place. They wouldn't dare not have it. That's great. I mean, that's why I'm a big Dr. Pepper proponent, so. Happy Monday, Netlocked. What's up? If you're west of Ohio and north of Mason-Dixie, you sound like the people on the news. I saw someone tweet about being from Europe and use the word y'all in the tweet. We have to start gatekeeping this. I've tried to incorporate a couple y'alls sometimes. Sometimes it's nice. You know, normally when I'm going to say the word y'all, I would say you guys. But, you know, maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Gang. That's like usually I say gang, folks. You know, sometimes I say that. But y'all is nice. But it feels appropriative, though. It does. It feels like I'm doing something wrong when I say it. Like I'm appropriating something. You better keep y'all hands off our y'alls. Y'all ain't got no right. I'm from Europe and sometimes use y'all because I realized y'all can't stop me. Oh shit. A challenge has been thrown down. Comrades is gender neutral. That's true. Yeah. That is absolutely true. I would like to bring that back. I love that. I like this angle. I like this angle, folks. Anything beats the yins. I can get yins. Really? Really? Yins? No, thank you. No, thank you. Couldn't be me saying yins. This is an anti-yin stream. over here. If you ask me. I'm going to start tweeting about how saying y'all is a type of black scent.
Have good old Rob to talk
Start a whole
through
round
all
of
this.
cancellation. I think that's a good idea. Comrade Social Distancing, thank you so much for those 2 gifted subs. Thank you. What a nice welcome back. I had this Quebecois landlord who had the sickest accent. He would say rather all the time, but pronounce it as a rather. Yeah, the THs. They can't do the THs. A TH in the Quebecois English accent will just, it'll turn to a D or a T. How about saying use? I just think of like an Al Capone style, like 20s gangster or 30s gangster, whatever. Hey, use guys. Hey. Get out the freaking car, use guys. We're doing crimes over here. That's like a different... That's not quite the same Jersey Italian. That's kind of a specific cartoonish mobster guy from a bygone age. My boss is French, and all the THs are Zs. Yeah, that's the difference with the France and the Quebecois. Quebecois is like a regional dialect. It's like a colony lingo. It's like the southern accent of French accents. Open the door, Quebecois. Yeah, and the hard O's, you got to have the H on there as well. Yeah. Quebecois men with very decent English and a need for a door to be opened. Yeah. My brother-in-law from New Orleans could be describing literally anything, and it always sounds like he's about to go have a crawfish, boy. Yeah. I can't even explain the accent where I'm from. Central PA, Baltimore-ish, but I can recognize it from across a crowded room anywhere in the world. My understanding, I don't know if I want to like attempt this. My understanding of like the Baltimore kind of style is like you go, hey, you go like that, like you go, you guys, you, oh, hey, it's like that kind of a thing. Baltimore. Is it like that? Hey. Is that something? Am I just pulling that out of my ass entirely? That's possible as well. You know, I'm from Baltimore. So no, that's not it. I don't know. I'm gonna work on it. Hello, I'm from Baltimore, innit? Hello. That's Manchester. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What the fuck am I doing with my life? Jesus. I know y'all mostly loathe boomers, but before the so-called Generation 68 here in Denmark rebelled against our reactionary old-fashioned society, we were still using what constitutes thou and thine. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I guess that makes sense that that's got to evolve. Can mimic any culture, folks. It's true. It's true. I've got the rare two. I've got a room temperature coffee, and I'm going to now open my Diet Coke. Thank you to sponsor of the stream, the Coca-Cola Corporation. It is really cool. I don't know if you've ever driven across America. It is cool to drive across America just to hear the shift happen kind of in real time. Go and stop at gas stations and Waffle Houses or whatever while driving across the country. And just hear the shift happen. That's fun. That's very enjoyable. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about today, folks. I don't know if we're quite there yet. In fact, I'm going to stay here in the chit chat zone here, but is it the chit chat zone? Is it a group chat? Who knows? Never really came up with a proper title for this segment. Who cares? Don't want to jump the gun. No, you never want to do that. I'm still learning to differentiate Canadian accents. Here in the Maritimes, there's an absolutely a separate accent from the rest of Canada. I think I've talked about it before, but there's a really funny YouTube video of like this actress lady that does all different accents, and she does all these regional accents. Pennsylvania alone has so many dialect changes. Yeah, that's interesting. This actress lady does so many different regional accents across England, across America, stuff like that. And she just has one for Canada. And she's like, "Oh, I'm from Toronto, Canada, eh?" And it's like the most cartoonish accent for Toronto. It's like the most cartoonish Canadian accent. That's the only thing she has. "Oh, hey, what's going on? I'm from Toronto, Canada, eh?" It's like, that is a good bit. It is, you have to hand it to her. You know, it's not that there's people that don't sound like that in this country. Of course there are. It's just funny to take that and just do the whole country, just in even like the most cosmopolitan place. Slowhan, is that her name? It's all Fargo. It is the fascist Canadian accent, yeah. "Hey, I'm just gonna go ahead and do some genocide there, eh?" That's what it is. That's how we get you. It's very disarming. It's very disarming, and then you hear what the voice is demanding and what the opinions it's expressing, and you're like, "Ooh, boy, that's pretty dark." Canadian accent is saying sorry, about, and then Slava Ukraini. That's right, Slava Ukraini is a new part of our accent. It's an official part of our dialect now. We fucking love Ukraine in this country. And why not? I mean, it's the second, I believe it's the largest Ukrainian diaspora in the world. And we've discussed about why that is, because the Canadian government specifically, following World War II, imported scores of these like Ukrainian nationalists and former SS people, imported scores of them into the country. So it could be kind of ground zero. It could be like the Florida. It could be like the Florida of the world. It's Ukraine's Florida. That's Canada, where all the fucking exiled fascists went to sort of rebuild, reconstruct, rebuild their whole special little identity, right-wing Ukrainian nationalist identity, anti-Soviet, anti-socialist, fascist supporting identity. They rebuilt that here, and then we helped export it back over there. That's been a big part of our sort of national project, where it's like a petri dish. It's like a petri dish for Ukrainian nationalism that we could then send back over there after the collapse of the Soviet Union to make sure we wipe out any semblance of what remained of that beautiful, glorious Soviet socialist tradition in Ukraine. You know, make sure all the heroic sacrifices of the brave Ukrainians that fought in the Red Army and helped build socialism in Ukraine and built a better life for a whole generation of people and created a better living standard for a generation of people. Make sure all of that is just completely wiped away. Make sure all that's gone. And we've successfully done that. We really have. That beautiful, glorious tradition. That's one of the things that frustrates me when we talk about the Ukraine war. When we do end up taking this kind of position, like, oh, Ukraine is just filled with Nazis. It's just 100% Nazis. That's not true, and that's not what the history of the place is. It's not what the history of the country is, as such, a country such as it is. A country thanks to that guy. But it's not that. It's turning into that. We're helping turn it into that, absolutely. But it's got a beautiful, glorious tradition of millions of inspiring, heroic Ukrainians that bravely fought against fascism and bravely helped destroy fascism. And worked on building a better society, not just for them, but for everyone in the whole world. Ukraine was a central part of that beautiful, beautiful mission, which was just senselessly, undemocratically destroyed. And a few of them still are. Of course, they're not allowed to hold political office in Ukraine, of course. After the Maidan that we sponsored, which was kind of putting the finishing touches on that little nationalist project. But yeah, and I would say many of them still are. It's just we don't hear from them. We don't hear from them, and when they speak up in Ukraine, especially during this conflict, they get tied to telephone poles and beaten and assaulted, right? Or when they speak up in the media or on social media, we say that they're Russian sympathizer dogs, and we just immediately discard what they have to say, don't we? This qualifies as chit chat. This is still just friendly chit chat. We're talking about how Canada is we're the prairie gusanos. That's all. We're the ground zero of Ukrainian gusanos. Anyway, I'm drinking a raspberry bubbly. I haven't had the raspberry Sinchow, but I did try the strawberry the other day and really enjoy that. I'm not a big strawberry beverage guy, but I quite enjoy it. Supports all anti-war, anti-fascist Ukrainians. And as will be lectured repeatedly by our friends on Twitch and elsewhere, the anti-fascist Ukrainians are fighting with Azov battalion against the Russian imperialists. It's like, oh boy. The anti-fascist Ukrainians that are taking weapons from NATO to fight Russia with. Working alongside like these fascists and Banderites and the supporters of these brutal anti-Soviet freedom fighters from Ukraine's past. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Anyway, let's always keep that in mind when we talk about Ukraine and when we talk about the Nazi problem in Ukraine and we talk about this Ukraine war. I think, like I said before, I think that's one of the biggest tragedies. Obviously, in this conflict, there's innocent people dying, there's people being displaced, there's all kinds of misery as there is in any war. But I think one of the biggest tragedies is the complete removal of this incredible, beautiful, inspiring tradition in Ukraine of socialism and internationalism. We've just completely stamped it out. We've spent the last 30 years just completely stamping it out. And the last year has just put the finishing touches on that. It's very depressing. I remember Trunon talking about some Canadian reporter going to Ukraine and being like, these are just sad Western Europeans. Like she expected to find a country full of Ubermensch super soldiers. Eastern Europeans, yeah. Well, that's it. That's been part of that nationalism building project, right? Is that we project that. Oh yeah, it's these Ubermensch, these freedom fighters, pro-Western freedom fighters. And yeah, we uplift those people in our media. We hear from fucking Stepan Bandera's grandson himself on CBC. Nothing says more about Canada's role in global affairs and in Ukraine's especially, as that we have Bandera's actual grandchild in our state media apparatus covering the Russia-Ukraine war. That really says it all right there, doesn't it? And so, yeah, we promote. That's why every single person we hear from in Ukraine that on the media that we uplift, they're always like, why do they have these SS patches and Nazi iconography? What's with that? How come every single time we hear from any of these people? Because that's who we uplift in our media. We don't want to hear from the Ukrainians that are not into that shit, that don't want to have anything to do with that. We don't want to hear from them. And in fact, like I was mentioning, when they get tied to telephone poles and assaulted by these Ukrainian nationalists, we say, oh, they deserve it because they like Russia. That's what we say. You know, it's just it's a joke. It's a fucking joke. No, I know. Stefan Bandera's grandchild is literally named Steven Bandera, and he's a producer with CTV and covers this conflict. This is what I'm talking about. What's the through line in all these ideologies? Azov, liberals, anarcho-nihilists, and the so-called anti-fascists fighting for Ukraine, anti-communism. For sure, Sam. That's how they... You know, it really slides everything into place when you just understand that that's what a central part of fascism, you know, such as it is, anti-communism. And when you can see once you see the anti-communism, you see the global mission, right? It all kind of slides into place. And it's like, oh, okay, I get what all these different kind of factions and different institutions that might seem very ideologically different. You see how they're all ideologically part of the same project. As soon as you have that understanding, you know? That's why they don't want you learning about this shit. It's really sad stuff. And now we're just still talking about what, sending in tanks now? This is the latest thing, the next thing that Ukraine absolutely, if they want to win, and obviously they're winning already, and obviously they've been winning for the entire last year, and Russia's just humiliating themselves and getting embarrassed every day, but we need to send more tanks, though. And we need, in fact, German tanks. We got to make sure they're German tanks going into Ukraine to fight the Russians. Don't worry, it's not like last time, though. Don't worry. It's not, I know what it sounds like if you've read a couple history books. When we're supporting German tanks going into Russia through Ukraine, I know what it sounds like, but it's not like that this time, though. This time it's good. This time it's good. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it too much. Almost like these authoritarian tankies recognize that you have to wipe out fascism completely rather than allow it to poison your bloodstream. That's the thing. It's very authoritarian when you start to take steps to limit the influence of this kind of ideology in your society. Yeah, it's just Operation Barbarossa 2, but this time it's okay. It's not the same thing. We just have to hit Russia in the mouth with some German tanks. That's right. We know now. Of course, we're not supporting Nazis this time. Just as we were opposed to the Nazis last time. Right? It does feel ominous, Sam. It does feel ominous. Like sometimes it really does just feel like we're on the path to World War III, and just there's really not a lot that we can do to stop that from happening. It just seems like once Putin said, like, all right, fuck it, fine, we're invading, that seems like it was the domino that fell, that like it might have started a chain reaction that is just going to get us to that point eventually. Maybe not right now, not this month or next month, but like there's a sense of inevitability, I feel, to it. Speaking of Nazis, they welcomed Bolsonaro with open arms in Florida, didn't they? No, I know. That's why Florida is like the preferred the preferred destination for current and former fascists from Latin America. They fit right in there. And Canada is the Eastern European version. That's why, if you're in Canada and you're in the United States, the whole thing about talking about the Soviet Union, and then you hear from people that are like, hey, my ancestors are from Poland, my ancestors are from Ukraine, my ancestors are from Czech Republic, Slovakia, Lithuania, Albania, whatever it is. And they're like, no, so evil monsters, what they did to my ancestors that led them to come here in the first place. You ever wonder why that is? You ever wonder why that is, that phenomenon? That's why we can never support socialism. You know what happened to my ancestors? You know what Enver's Hoxha did to my ancestors? You know what Tito did? You know what Stalin did? Yeah, or Vietnamese too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you come to Toronto, don't go to Etobicoke or North York. All the Ukrainian centers and Latvian centers are there in Etobicoke. You'll see South Vietnam flags flying outside people's houses. Exactly. Welcome all these refugees. All these refugees from the brutal, evil socialist regimes. We've welcomed them with open arms over the generations. That Jane Austen for sure, yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness!
I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Oh my goodness gracious! Oh my, Lucid Fox. Lucid, I must say, thank you for the raid, sir. Hello to the Lucid's chat. I'm Rob Rousseau. Now, you might be wondering, who's this fancy, distinguished Southern gentleman? Well, I'll tell you what, folks. I don't actually talk with this accent normally, but it might surprise you to know that I can mimic any culture around the world. In America, in Canada, Europe. I know it's impossible to tell, but I don't talk like this normally. George Bush, that's right. I'm doing a Bush era comedy, a Bush era accent. He can completely disappear. Speech incoming. That's right. I can instantly disappear into any culture. Rob, have you been drinking? No, I have not. But everyone loves this bit, though. Everyone loves this. Okay, this is everyone's favorite moment on the stream when I do this. Is that Daniel Craig from Knives Out? Many people have been saying that this bit is great. That's right. People are often saying this. No, what I was talking about seriously, Lucid, and thank you again, Lucid, for the raid. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the Lucid Raiders. And, I didn't really properly introduce myself. And I've probably just humiliated and alienated a lot of you.
Count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
We all love and Rob butchers our beautiful Southern culture. Bono Bin Laden, thank you very much for 3 months of Tier 1. I am Rob Rousseau, though. I'm a socialist Twitch streamer here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I just speak normally. This is how I talk normally. I'm from Memphis. I just think of the Andy Kaufman thing. We were watching that Andy Kaufman promo on Jerry Lawler the other day. Is that how they're talking Memphis, Tennessee, Mr. Lawler? You just want to farm the farms and plow the fields. I don't actually think that. Okay, I'm quoting Andy Kaufman's famous heel promo on Jerry Lawler. I think people from Memphis have a beautiful accent, and I would love to visit there. And I would not talk like that there. I'm just referencing the Andy Kaufman promo. Okay? Anyway, Rob, socialist Twitch streamer here in Montreal. I will stop doing this now. Please smash the follow button. If you haven't already, if you want to participate in the chat, smash that follow button. It helps a lot. Thank you for joining the program. How was the Lucid stream today?
To talk you through all this.
Lennon Smesh, thank you very much for the gifted sub. Very much appreciate that. Remember when Paul Heyman shot on Lawler live and called him a pedo? No, I don't remember that. I don't, but that's terrific. Nothing brings the North and South together quite like wrestling. Fuck. Sorry, now I can't stop. Now I'm having a hard time stopping. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. How was the Lucid stream today? Was it good? What did you talk about on the Lucid stream? We were just kind of chatting. I was just torturing everyone with this accent bit that I do sometimes. But I was also, on a serious note, talking about how, like, Canada specifically is kind of like a dumping ground, or has been over the generations, for these, like, reactionary descendants of like Eastern European nationalists and fascists that fled the Soviet Union after the war. And Canada's just welcomed them with open arms, and talking about that phenomenon and how, you know, anti-communism has motivated so much of our immigration policy, not just with Europeans, Eastern Europeans, but also Vietnamese and Koreans and the Chinese. And like this, it's been anti-communism is a big part of our foreign policy, which is exactly why now, when you talk about socialism here in Canada or in many places in the United States, you have people saying like, don't you know what happened to my ancestors, you know, in Albania and Lithuania, in Russia and Ukraine. I was talking about how we have prairie gusanos here. That's what I was talking about prior to you showing up and me slipping back into the torturing accent bit. Then Canada exports them to the USA as like media commentators and social media personalities. That's right. That's what we do. And Outrun had a good comment on this before I was rudely interrupted by the raid. I just wanted to read that. The United States and Canada, to a smaller extent, are always discussed as being a melting pot, with people from all around the world moving there, but they always leave out that it's almost always reactionaries from other countries they're letting in, never radicals. Yeah, and like specifically, we have banned immigration for people that have like been members of communist parties, to people that are socialists, to people that are internationalists. You know, it's been a specific part of our immigration policy over the years to cultivate this, to deliberately cultivate this. I was dating a girl who told her granddad was in a USSR gulag. I replied, well, she got out, didn't he? He got out, didn't he? And she stopped talking to me. I think, you know what we have to look at now? I think you all know. You all know exactly the video that I now have to put on. And you all, I don't even need to say what it is. You all know what's coming. You all know what's coming, folks.
Stalini, დიდი ადამიანი იყო. ხო. უბრალოდ არ დახოცამდა. შენ ბაბუას.
ნო. ისი იქნებოდა, ხო? ხო.
Never gets old. It just never gets old. It's so great. I fucking love that guy. I love that's what I was talking about before, the amazing tradition of socialism. I love our Stalinist Georgian grandpas. I don't know what a grandpa in Georgian would be. We love our Stalinist babushkas, you know? I love hearing from Stalinist babushkas. I can probably find that one too. I love, like, let's play the greatest hits here. Like, I know this might sound like an exaggeration, but I would die for this woman.
We will not forget history. We will not let history disappear. We will always be with Lenin, and we will bring back Stalin. Those ruling the country today are criminals. Is that what they call government? They have made people destitute.
Where's the lie?
Stalin won the war. Lenin won the revolution. The Democrats have done what Hitler wasn't able to do.
Where's the lie? This could be a worlds colliding moment as well.
But I have a lot more.
A genuine
Originals and all the pillars.
I'm trying to find the clip of CM Punk saying, "Tell me when I'm telling lies." He cut a great promo a couple months ago on AEW right before he left the company. Tell me when I'm telling lies. Zero lies detected in this Stalinist babushka rant. When your military parade is led by a babushka on the mic. There we go. It's like, that's just great shit. That is great stuff. I wonder, could I put you over here? Yeah, I think that's better, chat. I think it's better when you're there. I think it is. Give her an AK. Seriously, I would follow this woman backwards into hell. I saw a clip of Sami Zayn calling a fan a homophobic bitch, and I greatly enjoyed that. That was great. Yeah. Found the CM Punk drop. I don't think this is what you say it is, Outrun. I don't think this clip is what you say it is. Yeah. Yeah. Nice try. Nice try, buddy. You gotta wake up a lot earlier in the day. Oh, don't click that. No, don't click that, actually. I know what you're up to. I know what game you're running here, Marty. I know what game you're running. You think I'm stupid? You think I'm stupid over here? You think that's gonna happen again? You gotta fool me once. Shame on me. But fool me. You never can't get fooled again. Going back to the George W. Bush era comedy. The classics. We're just cycling through all the hits today. Anyway, we will get to soon talking about like what I came here to talk about. I wanted to talk about the protests going on in Georgia right now and this Cop City stuff, and specifically the way the media is covering that. Now watch this drive. That's right. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I don't feel quite ready for it yet. You may not have clicked the link, Rob, but we do know that you are a certified goober. Wow. I guess I can't argue too much with that. Bush was one of the worst human beings ever, but goddamn was he funny. And I mean, we've talked about Trump like that a lot before too, right? But that new Trump clip just dropped, though. Trump from Diamond's funeral. Trump was in rare form. This is already, and I've heard also that he's planning to come back to Twitter. I don't know what truth there is to that. Trump was in fucking rare. He's back though. At Diamond's funeral, complaining about the length of the funeral while giving a eulogy at Diamond's funeral of Diamond and Silk. Lucid Raids, Rob. So Stalinist old people are cool. I mean, You know, I think it's important to lay this shit out there. We don't need to deceive anyone about the ideological stance of this program. Like, let's just be honest with ourselves and with others about the kind of things that we're into over here. Yeah, Diamond passed. So Diamond and Silk, despite being big anti-vaxxers, now they're saying that she died. She's been in bad health for like months and had COVID and died. But of course, they're saying she died from the vaccine. That's right. And here's this Trump moment, though. It is, again, an instant classic Trump moment at the funeral. And I've avoided watching this so I could watch it on the stream and experience it for the first time with all you folks. Here we go.
And I don't believe, they told me, I said, give me a little time, because I have a lot of people waiting for me back in a place called Palm Beach, Florida. They said, give me a little time. What do you think it'll take? Oh, about 15, 20 minutes, in and out. I said, well, it could take longer. This is a little longer than 15 minutes, right?
It's quiet? Okay, hold on. It seems like the video itself is quiet. I'll turn up the audio a little bit here. Jesus Christ.
And I don't believe, they told me, I said, give me a little time, because I have a lot of people waiting for me back in a place called Palm Beach, Florida. They said,
it is very quiet.
What do you think it'll take? Oh, about 15, 20 minutes, in and out. I said, well, it could take longer. This is a little longer than 15 minutes, right? And I don't...
It's a little longer than 15 minutes. That's the next stage in my mimicking accents. I got to get that Trump. I got to do it. It's great. By their own logic, Trump is shedding all over them. Well, that's right. They're getting into like the vaccine shedding. That's hitting the mainstream now, right? Now it's not just that people are dying suddenly from the vaccine, but now it's just like, even if you even spend time with a vaccinated person, they're shedding their microbes onto you. I don't know exactly what the like medical contours of this conspiracy are, but it's like when you even spend time with a vaccinated person now, it's messing you up. Shedding their nanobots on you. Not long before the midterms start ramping up, I got to get the impression down for sure. By the time the primaries start, I got to get that. That's right, Lana. COVID isn't contagious, but the vaccine is. That's correct. Yeah, that's what they believe. Is he giving a eulogy? He's giving a eulogy at this is celebrating the life of Diamond and Silk fame. It's taking a little longer than 15 minutes, right? Fucking great. Sometimes you do have to hand it to him. It's not fun. Orange Man bad, I agree. I agree that the Orange Man is bad, but sometimes you do have to hand it to him. Wow, that's amazing. Cauldron of Bats. My parents won't even see their grandkid because we're vaxxed and they don't want to shed. That's so sad. That's so sad. Yeah, that's I think like what Freak Museum or Lana was pointing out. It's like that's the level of delusion that they're operating under now. COVID is fine. The people that are dying early, the people that are dying like Diamond and Silk, it's not because of COVID. It's not because of like the deadly illness that's been spreading over the last 3 years. Millions of people around the world have got it. Over 1 million people have died in the United States. That's not the reason. It's the vaccine now is the thing. Anyone that gets the vaccine is the thing that's causing them to die suddenly, to go to the hospital and die over a long period of COVID-like symptoms. And it's contagious now, too. The vaccines are contagious. So COVID is fine. COVID is just like a little cough. And the vaccine is deadly. And literally, if you even get the vaccine and you're mix it up with someone that's not vaccinated, you're shedding your like vaccine microbes or nanobots onto them. There were anti-vaxxers who refused to get in an elevator with me and my family because we were masked. Really, what happened to them being afraid of COVID because they thought China did it? I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe if you look into it, they'll think China did it so that the New World Order vaccine conspiracy could kick off. No, things are going really well, Marty, for sure. And definitely, I feel very comfortable and confident with our ability to handle the next pandemic that comes, you know? Because we know there's going to be another one. Imagine the moment that comes, if this eventually does happen, where another pandemic happens and the death rate is even higher. You know? Now we can't do anything. Now the first effort to do anything, to close any store, to make people stay home from work, the first effort to make people wear a mask, no matter how serious it is, no matter how dangerous it is, people are just going to say no, right off the bat. Right? There was that brief moment at the beginning of COVID when at least people were like going along with what was happening. That's done now. You know? No Democrat. You think any Democrat, even if like a Democrat that's going to say, oh, I believe in science, I believe in medicine, when the next pandemic comes, they're not going to tell people to mask up. That's not going to be an electoral loser for them. Do you know how badly that polls? You know how badly telling people to wear a mask polls? You can't do that. You can't do that. It's not just these like reactionary conservatives or anti-maskers or whatever. I had to do a monthly big grocery run. I went to Walmart and I saw at minimum 200 people. It was busy as hell. Not a single mask in sight, staff or customers. I still say, because I wear a mask when I go to the grocery store when I go out here in Quebec. It's a little bit better, I would say. It might be kind of generous, but I would say probably 50-50. 50-50 on a good day. I think we should have done the FEMA camps. I don't care who says I'm wrong, come for me. Well, the reality is, like, it would be nice to not have to do that kind of stuff, but that's going to be what's necessary to do the next moment a pandemic does come, because there's going to be so people that just won't comply with any public health measures. They won't, you know, no matter how dangerous it is. We saw when they have the evidence in front of their own eyes, these people over the last couple of years, they've got friends and family members in the hospital, and they're going into the hospital to yell and hoot and holler at the doctors and the nurses, and to try and get their relatives out of there. So it doesn't matter like what the next pandemic is that's more dangerous. They will not comply with public health measures anymore. That's finished. So the question is going to be, when this moment comes, what do you just say like, well, I guess we're just fucked, or do you do what needs to be done to keep people safe and to protect people's health? Given like the kind of ideology that we've been operating under for the last couple of decades that has destroyed any sense of social solidarity, I don't have any much hope that even the liberals, the competent liberals, if they're in charge, that they're going to do what needs to be done. They won't. Of course they won't. I do think like the way that we started to talk about the pandemic and all this stuff has become kind of like unhelpful also. You know what I think has kind of happened with the pandemic now? And this kind of public health measure stuff is that I think we've started to be similar to climate change. We've seen the way that like the state, hope the next pandemic is disco fever. That would be cool. I would not support masking or any kind of measures, health measures, if that was the case. I would support that. But in the same way, we've seen like the state or the elite basically give up on the idea of doing anything about climate change other than just like meaningless gestures. And then we individualize the solution instead because we see that there's not a collective response. I think we've started to do that a little bit with COVID as well. And we've taken the failure of the state or like the elites to manage this thing. And now we just like, we've taken this like individual approach. And now we're just like shaming anyone that expresses any kind of like despair or expresses any kind of need to be like, you know, want to socialize or want to do anything in public. And we say like, fuck, you're killing people. If you go and meet people, if you go outside, if you go into a public place, you're like killing people. You don't care about disabled people, when really it's the state that has failed, you know? And I do think we all need to do our part. Like, yeah, you should still wear a mask when you go outside, when you go to the grocery store. I don't think we can just like stay in these atomized individual spaces forever, though. Just never communicate, never go outside and socialize, or never do anything ever again, though. And I don't think it's really helpful to be like, if someone expresses a need or a desire to like socialize, to say like, why do you hate the disabled? You know, I don't think that's really super helpful. And I think there can maybe be a little bit of a balance between understanding that we do need to take every precaution that we can, health wise. But I don't think it's super helpful to just be like claiming that anyone who wants to like go outside and socialize is like, you know, a terrible person who wants disabled people to die. But again, I don't want to say that and say that it's not, we shouldn't be taking precautions. Like I said, I wear a mask anytime I go outside. Like, we absolutely should. But we should keep, my point is, when I talk about this though, is we should keep the attention on the actual state, like the state and the powerful people in our society that have given up on this. Similar to climate change, they're the reason that this has completely gotten out of control. I understand wanting to live life, but that's not the problem. It's the people that knowingly get on planes with COVID. Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's like, that is sick. And those people don't care about other people's lives. Absolutely. Masking up would be easier if there was a government public health initiative to make masks available everywhere. Well, it's not even masks, right? But now you have like these big pharma companies that are jacking up the prices on even COVID testing. You know, we don't even have widely available testing. We don't have widely available masks. They're jacking up the price on the vaccine for people around the world, right? It is absolutely sick. There's a very funny genre of pictures on Twitter, hundreds of scientists at conferences about infectious diseases all unmasked. But even poison, like even the stuff at Davos over the last couple of weeks, there was like all the images, and they've all, even though there was like maybe in the events, like the mask wearage was like lower, but they all have like the air purifiers there. They all have the as many booster shots as they need. They've all got access to Pavloxid or whatever it is, the medicine that treats it. Like, they're all taking those kind of precautions, and they have access to all these things that just other people don't have. I mean, take every precaution I can. I know I can still get it. I wouldn't blame myself if I did, but it does make me angry that there are so many things the state could have done that just didn't, because the trucker convoy threw a fit over having to provide PPE. For sure. Like, the idea that, again, that we would have any social solidarity whatsoever. Any social solidarity whatsoever has been so offensive to people. My girlfriend hasn't been offered a vaccine yet. They didn't have enough in her country. Yeah, and we've totally missed the window to get the vaccine to like all throughout people in the global south, right? And we've just let this run rampant. So there's just endless variants and endless mutations. And it's been a sort of an intentional eugenics program, like by the part of the state. I guess my point is though that that's where those decisions are coming from, is the top down, is from the state. We can and should do things as individuals to mitigate whatever we can. But it's not anyone's individual responsibility for this massive failure of our like ruling class. Whether it comes to a pandemic, whether it comes to climate change or anything else that requires a big unified collective response. Yeah, we refused to waive the IP restrictions to get it to other countries. Biden famously said they would do that. You know, there was that big outcry. Of course they should waive the IP restrictions. And Biden said, folks, we're going to get it done. Hey, I'm Joe Biden, and we're going to get it done. And they didn't. And like I said, all these big pharma companies are now jacking up the cost of not only the vaccine, but the tests. Your Biden impression came off more like Rick Sanchez. I hadn't tried a Biden in a long time. A lot of the Biden is just with the eyes. Hey, it is, I guess maybe it is kind of Rick Sanchez. But it's the eyes here. I'm kind of doing the George W. Bush, but that's not it. Why? It so fundamentally undermines the point the convoy thought they were making. The government will do anything to avoid providing affordable service and entrench the private medical industry. They were against the government as it stands. They should have insisted on more mandates. And yeah, Frank, in Canada, now we're seeing, like in Ontario, where this convoy was, the pandemic has been used as a deliberate weapon to destroy what remains of the public healthcare system. Like I was talking about this on the Insurgents podcast this week, and I would encourage everyone to listen to it. Which you can do so by clicking the link in the chat. But that's it. It's like the sort of vultures that have been wanting to privatize the Canadian, national healthcare plan for generations now have their opportunity. And Doug Ford has gotten public funds in order to put into public health in Ontario, and has deliberately starved these institutions of the funding, even the funding that they've got from the federal government. They've underspent. And now they're saying, well, I guess we got to get these private, look at all the chaos. I guess we got to get these private industry involved in our healthcare system now. This is happening. We're going to get our fucking grocery monopolies involved in the healthcare industry in Canada. We're going to get our telecoms involved in healthcare now. And that's the amazing thing about Canada as well, is the way that our national healthcare program has been a point of pride for Canadians for generations. And we always hold that up to America. Oh, look at the barbaric private American healthcare system. We don't have that here. Not in enlightened Canada, where you don't have to pay to see a doctor. And now that's happening. Now that is going away. And we're just looking around. No one's saying a goddamn word about it. Our media is not saying anything. Even Justin Trudeau is like, oh yeah, this is good. This is innovation. And it's just happening, and we're just letting it happen. And that's all. And it's just going to go away. And this thing that we've held on as this point of national pride, people are just letting it slip away and agreeing with it, in fact. And this is the pandemic, the failure to respond to the pandemic on the part of the state. That's what I mean. It's by design. It's not some accident. They've literally, by design, not responded to it. Partially because we've destroyed any sense of social solidarity in our society. That's just been completely beaten out of us over the generations. So that's been a central piece of the neoliberal project, right? Just destroying any sense of social solidarity. So just on that level, we're losing the ability to do it. But now as well, we've just deliberately used this pandemic as a sort of form of eugenics program against the poor, against the disabled, against the global south. And we're using it to just completely wipe out what remains of our national healthcare program. Yeah, we're fucked. People here are either so reactionary or so demoralized they'll do nothing. I'm it's the kind of thing you imagine your whole life. If they ever tried to take away our healthcare system in this country, people would riot in the streets. And it's it's literally happening right now, right this very moment. And people are just oh, shucks. Just not saying anything. And in fact, when doctors and nurses are saying hey, we don't want this, or when nurses who are overworked in our current system are we need to be paid better, we're shut up, stop complaining. Why are you enforcing this mass conspiracy on me? So that's where we're at now. Democracy, sound of applause, laser swords or something. There it is. That's why. George Lucas, one of the... the Revenge of the Sith, that's what it's about. It's about the collapse of liberal democracy. into fascism. That's exactly what Revenge of the Sith is about. And there may be some uneven moments in that prequel trilogy, but George Lucas understood this basic idea, and we're living it right now. Of course, slow down. I'm a big Revenge of the Sith head over here. Big time Revenge of the Sith head. I always thought Canada was more civilized for taking a more European route, but the UK and Canada want to follow the US route. For sure. I mean, we only have national health care because of like a Herculean effort like in the past to like get that to people. And once they got national health care, realized that it was good. And it's been this generational process of slowly chipping away at that. And, you know, the cutting and underfunding and destroying and dismantling the social fabric. It's been this decades-long project to claw that back from people. Now they're taking it away and people don't even realize that it's happening or they don't care. Yeah, there was a functional left in Canada when healthcare was implemented. Does not exist today. Not only that, carry away, but there was a functional left elsewhere in the world, right? There was a thing called the USSR that existed that fucking terrified the people that rule our society. It terrified them, the USSR. And that's why they felt okay giving up those kinds of concessions to working people. You saw that with the New Deal in America as well. That's why getting rid of the USSR was such a priority for our ruling class. Not only getting rid of the USSR, but like I was saying, filling our society with these reactionary immigrants from Soviet countries. Even if people did care, the politicians seem intent on breaking it down regardless. Conservatives, liberals, and NDP all seem united on the idea of privatization of the healthcare system, albeit in different ways. Yeah, that's where it's going. That's right. And I don't blame people for being demoralized. What are we going to do? What are we going to go do a little protest? Do we think that anyone cares in our government about our little protests? Oh, sure, we can go do a little march. We can wave our signs. Justin Trudeau will probably join the march. He'll probably join it himself. You know, they don't care. They don't care about our little protests. They don't. We're going to have to learn that it's okay to violate TOS. I mean, this is what I was talking about as well when you talk about the convoy people or these January 6th people. And that's one thing we have to understand is that their tactics are things we need to look at. We don't need to agree with them just because they're doing these tactics. We don't need to agree with these reactionary protest movements if they want to install Trump as president undemocratically, or if they want to, push back against any semblance of a public health measure. We don't need to agree with that. But we should be taking a look at these tactics that they're using in order to try to accomplish these goals. Because guess what? Because, they don't care. They don't care about our little protests. Even our big protests. We could organize here in Canada the biggest mass protest movement in Canadian history. And we could go on for weeks trying to protect our healthcare system and trying to protest the privatization of healthcare system. And as we've seen in the United States time and time again, it will not mean jack shit. And in fact, some windows will get broken during these protests. Maybe someone will light a barricade on fire. Maybe a cop car will get flipped over, and then we'll have our media get out those lectures, won't they? They'll get those lectures. They'll get out the wagging fingers, and they'll say, "My goodness, we're seeing this right now in America, in Georgia, in these or Atlanta, in these more specifically in these Cop City protests. We're seeing the exact same thing happening right now, right? People protesting this obvious, terrible, authoritarian." Plot to build this massive structure outside of Atlanta to practice urban combat for these cops. There's completely telegraphing exactly the way that they think everything is going to go, spending billions of dollars in taxpayer funds to build this cop city so they can practice gassing and beating protesters. And people are very correctly protesting this and doing it all the right way. Doing it all the right ways, right? going to city council meetings, doing peacefully protesting, carrying signs. Obviously, that's not working. So the protests start getting more severe. Then the cops start killing people. Then the protests start escalating in response to the cops killing people. Shit starts burning. Windows start getting smashed. And then out come the wagging fingers. Out come the wagging fingers. Don't they? And the lectures. Well, that's what's going to happen here in Canada as well. If we do organize a protest to protect our what I thought was an important part of our society and our culture, the national healthcare program in Canada, we can protest. We can protest all we want. They don't care. Months of public comments, hours and hours of phone calls, all saying don't build this and close the jail, and the city council does not care. This is the fucking dichotomy. We talk about this all the time, about whether we live in this is the fucking, the gaslighting, the mind trick that gets played when we talk about our free society, where we have free speech and the right to free assembly and the right to protest. What good is that? What good is our precious right to protest or our precious free speech when it impacts nothing? When it impacts nothing about public policy? What good is it? I'm seriously asking. And people see buildings burning in Atlanta right now, and they say, why don't you do it the right way? Why don't you do it the right way? Why don't you talk to go to city council meetings, make phone calls, do a peaceful protest? All this shit has been going on for months. All of this shit has been happening for months. All Democrats in the city council. Is that true in Georgia? I don't doubt that it is true. I know it's true in Minnesota, where Benny is, right? Where there's been a lot of ground zero for massive protest against police brutality, police violence. These cities are run top to bottom by Democrats. They don't care. People are doing it the right way. They don't care. And now we're seeing with these Cop City protests, even if in a very, what to me is a extremely obvious, it's obvious what is going on, right? They're building this complex to literally practice gassing and assaulting protesters. They're now murdering people that are protesting this after months and months of people trying to do it the right way. Cops are murdering protesters and then planting evidence to suggest that they're violent criminals or what have you, or that they took a shot at a police officer despite having no body cams or any evidence of this. And people are correctly responding to the fact that these armed, militarized thugs are murdering people that are protesting this, the building of this complex. They're out there murdering them in their camps. And people are correctly responding to that with protests. These are becoming, protests where there's property damage. Oh no, property damage. And out comes the finger wagging, the lecture. Out comes the finger wagging. It's like fucking clockwork. And it's what we can expect in Atlanta, in Ontario, or Quebec, or BC, or any other place in Canada where they're trying to take away our national health care and privatize it. It's going to be the same story. When climate change starts to get worse and we start organizing big climate protests, maybe to get us off fossil fuels, to protect the migrant caravans that are inevitably coming, who are also going to be facing immense state violence, And we've got cops right now, as they are in Cop City in Atlanta, training for this moment, training to know how they can destroy these protests with brutal violence. And we're just letting that happen as well. The disrespect put on MLK's legacy in our own city is so infuriating. I mean, just talk on MLK Day, we talked about how his legacy has been just absolutely stepped on and disgraced time and time again. And that these Democrats try to say nothing of Republicans that talk about the I have a dream speech or anything like that, but to fucking Democrats who suggest that in any way that they are carrying on his vision while acting like this is just absolutely disgusting. It is sick. His church and childhood home are less than a mile from where the protests happened downtown.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Mediocre. VJ voice.
Thank you, Dimitri. Mediocre. By the way, VJ Prashad is going to come back on the show very soon. I'm in touch with VJ's team right now. We're going to get him on very soon. These guys are getting ready to massacre us, and these liberals are going to sit comfortably in their homes and try to lecture us about how we deserve it. We don't have to go care about what they say. Just keep your eyes on the prize. Yeah, and Dimitri, I believe, shared the clip we looked at it the other day of Kwame Ture, which I always look at in these moments, about organization versus mobilization. Was VJ Prashad on here? Yeah, last year he came on. Great interview, actually. And in fact, I'll share it in the chat right now if you want to watch that. One of the highlights of my time on this show is my interview with VJ Prashad from last year. Even fucking John Lewis was a sellout. His idea of good trouble was abandoning class politics and eventually raising their own statuses. I mean, this is the thing that I pointed out at John Lewis's funeral. Bill Clinton showed up at John Lewis's funeral and used that time, this disgusting man, this fucking vile racist man, Bill Clinton, used that opportunity to talk shit on the previous also deceased Kwame Ture. And talked about this sort of like civil rights movement and how there was a time when it could have, or I'm not going to do the accent, but how there was a time when the civil rights movement could have gone in the Stokely Carmichael or Kwame Ture direction, or could have gone in the John Lewis direction. And he's talking about how thankful he was that it went in the John Lewis direction, which should just tell you all you need to know about that. It's sad to say, but it's true. We got to do a GoFundMe for some voice acting lessons for Rob. Thank you, Venus. I think, if I did have a little bit of support, I could be a great voice acting teacher. And if I GoFundMe could set that up, and I could start giving voice acting lessons to other folks. Thank you, Venus, for your support on that. John Lewis got his start in politics in the Atlanta City Council being an absolute ghoul in the 80s. Yeah, I mean... wasn't he a big kind of war on drugs, like tough on crime, pro-police kind of Democrat? Is that about right? Also just corrupt as well? Basically a Reagan Democrat. Yeah, great. These are our civil rights leaders. Just like the entirety of the boomer generation, right? It's not just John Lewis, it's the entire... that's where our boomer generation went. They love to lecture us about being part of the civil rights movement and ending the Vietnam War, etc. All that stuff. They all went and sold out and voted for Reagan in the 80s. Biden, even though Biden's not a boomer, he has boomer mentality. Boomer mindset. And all semblance of class politics was removed from any of their so-called radicalism that they maybe once had in the late 60s. All the class politics were totally removed. And the people that promoted class politics either died or got marginalized. You know? The Malcolm X's, the MLKs, the Fred Hamptons, the other Black Panthers, the Angela Davises, the Kwame Tures, they all either got assassinated or they got run out of town. We went the third way. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. And now we're all living in the consequences of that. The city's first black mayor, Maynard Jackson, famously broke a black-led city sanitation worker strike in the 70s too. God, it's all so depressing. It's all so fucking depressing, isn't it? It's really, really depressing. We can look at some of these clips, though. And like I was saying, it's like I've been talking for a while about when that next spark is going to come. When the next spark is going to come for protests against police violence. And like maybe this Cop City protest is it. You know? Because there's been a number of high-profile incidents of police brutality, police violence, you know, in the last couple of years since the George Floyd protests, which again accomplished nothing at all, which has led to cops with around the country with more money, more funding, which has led to more people being gunned down in the streets by police than ever before. So I've been wondering when that next spark is going to come, but at the same time, you understand why people are also demoralized. You know, engaging in sustained, organized protest movements is not necessarily easy or fun, or it's not at all easy or fun. And in fact, many of the people that were involved in these organizations wound up dead in mysterious circumstances, as I've covered a number of times. While we also then simultaneously still have to pretend that COINTELPRO is not still going on, when it obviously is. So you got to wonder if Cop City is the next spark that's going to lead to a more sustained, organized protest movement. But like I said, I don't know if it will. I don't know if that moment will ever come. You know, I kind of thought that's what the George Floyd protests were. When that police station burned down in Minneapolis, I was kind of starting to think, is this it? Like, is this the tipping point? And then receded back. It always reminds me of that Hunter S. Thompson quote from Fear and Loathing. You know, I always think about that. It's why it's so poignant. You know, with the right kind of eyes, you can see the high water mark where the wave finally broke and rolled back. You know, he thought he was part of the wave that was going to sweep away the establishment and create this new society as well. And it collapsed. You know, and maybe 2020 and the Bernie movement and the George Floyd protests and all that moment, maybe that's the high water mark for this generation. You know, who knows if it's ever going to come again. Yeah, same, Lodane. Cop City will be handy for the U.S. because they won't have to keep sending people to Ukraine to learn from the fascists. Yeah, well, it's not mutually exclusive. You got a couple of different options now. Brother, we need an actual people's army, and I'm not kidding. I mean, this is the inescapable conclusion. They don't care about our protests, right? They don't care about the peaceful protests. They don't care about doing it the right way, making the phone calls, going to the city council meetings. They don't care about that. Once the protests become more violent and more militant, they use that as a further excuse to crack down, both with, you know, the militarized police and crack down with the media propaganda campaigns as well. The Operation Mockingbird shit. So what's the inescapable conclusion? The inescapable conclusion from that is we should just give up and just allow whatever is going to happen and just stop resisting, or we start examining other options. That's the inescapable conclusion. Whether it comes to police violence, whether it comes to the climate, the environment, migrant rights, trans rights. That's the inescapable conclusion. They don't care. They don't care about our little protests. Stop resisting. That's the message. That's the message that they send us day in, day out. Stop resisting. You know? You see it in like a individual level with cops and like the individuals that they're assaulting and murdering, and you see it on a larger level with the state versus the citizens as well. We also need to be very clear and very careful about how we form our vanguard, especially in a country like Canada where settler chauvinism has to be taken into account. That's what makes me really hopeless, Lana, is just how completely reactionary our society is, and how I think in this kind of viewpoint that we're describing there, I would describe us as being in the extreme minority. You know, this has been carefully cultivated. This mindset, this Western chauvinist mindset. Thanks for the link, Marty. Kwame Ture, Martin Luther King's lesson for us wasn't nonviolence. He taught us how to face the enemy without fear. And I think, and the other Kwame quote that I always think of is just about the, you know, in order for nonviolence to work, and this was kind of a direct shot also at MLK. In order for nonviolence to work, your opponent has to have a conscience. The United States has none. Has none. They don't. So the nonviolence is, it's a nice thought. You know, it's really easy to cling to that and say, like, I cling to this principle of nonviolence, but it makes you feel good. It gives you kind of a personal catharsis. You know, ultimately, though, what's it going to lead to in terms of this kind of social change that we want? And, you know, people like MLK felt the consequences of their nonviolence, you know? The state's not afraid to use violence. It's not afraid to use violence against individuals like MLK. It's not afraid to use violence against protest movements or against revolutionary movements.
That's the 60s. We're not fighting no more. But after Rodney King, they called back to, we got to fight. I said, yes, we have to fight. Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you about was this little passage. You say, so I said, listen, you ain't got to do nothing difficult, just some little tactics like they do in Northern Ireland. Nothing big, you know. Get some gasoline, get some bottles, get some rags, you know. Molotov cocktail is the easiest thing in the world to do. Just pour gasoline in a bottle, put the rag in it, light the rag, throw it. Anything.
I mean, look at his face. I love him. I love him. But I mean, like, remember though, when you see this, and if anyone happens to be watching this, I don't think there's many viewers right now watching this, but if any lurkers or anyone that doesn't agree with these kind of tendencies watches this and say, oh my God, it's so scandalous. That's so scandalous. Remember that when it came to Russia and Ukraine, this is the message we promoted on mainstream media, on BBC and like all their mainstream media establishments. Of course you use a Molotov. Of course. Here's how you make one. And we support and we love and we uphold people that take Molotovs and they throw it at these Russian invaders, you know? But when we see Kwame Ture talking about that in our own society, our own extremely authoritarian society, we say, oh my goodness, you can't say that. Can you say that? Is that against TOS? You know? But we support it and promote it when it comes to Ukrainians engaging in their noble fight for freedom. I love his face, though. God, what a legend.
It's got to explode against it. I said, when you got to see the biggest buildings you have in Los Angeles, put some snipers up there to keep the police and the army at bay. Nothing big, you know, and then you get some rubber tires and gather a lot.
Hypothetically, in a game.
When the police start coming, you spread out the tires and burn them. It keeps the police at bay, you know, very simple things. What's that all about?
It was an attempt to show that as a people, we continue to resist against the enemy, but the resistance is spontaneous and unorganized. And we lived through the Watts Rebellion of 1965 to see the one in 1993. Was it here with Rodney King? It was 1993. And if you look, it's just like a repeat performance, you know. All of them, all the rebellions in this country, every last one of them has occurred over an act of police terrorism. All of them, without every last one of them, police terrorism. And there always response to these police terrorism, but the response is spontaneous, unorganized. So I was saying, we're such an unorganized people, we don't even do simple things, you know, like they do in Northern Ireland. You know, it's not a big thing, you know, burn some rubber tires to stop cars from coming in. That's simple. You know, it costs nothing.
Yeah, the Northern Ireland has taught this lesson, like Sean, what Sean is saying is important too. His point stands. We're not going to be walking down the street in formation with bayonets. You have to fight smart. You can scare and demoralize a superior foe. As we've seen, we saw this in the resistance against the Iraqi occupation, the Afghanistan occupation. We saw it against the resistance to the Vietnam War. You know, this is what we have to learn from. Hypothetically, Not that I would advocate for any of this stuff here on twitch.tv, obviously. But I think if that's the kind of lesson that people would need to take if they did want to engage in that kind of activity, which I don't support personally.
But the point was, we don't even think of these simple little things like that. You know, Molotov cocktail, simple things. Because once the rebellion started, the snipers went up on the roofs. The Molotov cocktails were thrown. They looked for the tires to burn. So the emphasis was to say, let us move from spontaneity to organization, since we're going to do it anyway.
How far would you go with violence to bring about the revolution?
All the way. All the way.
What's that mean?
Whatever's necessary. Whatever's necessary.
The man. No wonder he got basically exiled from public discourse. Talking about the way that like our discourse has suffered too, and our media has suffered. Like there was a time in the 70s when you could just turn on mainstream TV and see Kwame Ture. You would at least have that viewpoint being expressed somewhere in the media. That just doesn't exist anymore. Does not exist. Does not exist whatsoever, this kind of viewpoint. And again, people express this viewpoint are treated as terrorists, basically. What a guy, though. And I, to this day, even though, Kwame basically got exiled from public discourse. He basically left the country to focus on Pan-Africanism and live elsewhere. But, you know, I don't doubt that they did get him with the cancer gun. I know he went to his grave believing that he got with the cancer gun, and I agree. I agree with that. I think they got Kwame with the cancer gun. No, I mean, Red Scare, we talk about this all the time, right? In the 70s, we talked about like John Stockwell and these CIA whistleblowers who were like, oh yeah, during the Vietnam War and stuff, this is how I would launder these stories in the press. You know, you cultivate these like foreign press, like AP kind of associates. You plant stories in the foreign press, and then it gets reported as fact and here in the West. And he's describing this complicated process, the way that propaganda was laundered into mainstream press. And now you just have CIA guys just going on to MSNBC or just joining the Democratic Party. There's no middleman anymore. There is none of this. Again, that's the like Operation Mockingbird shit. Now you just have like CIA agents or former CIA agents just going on TV and giving interviews and being like, here's what we need to do. And you see the media class says, well, thank you. And when you disagree with those people, they call you like a Russian propagandist or something. That's where we're at now. There were scandals and hearings for sure. And now you have the GOP claiming that they're going to engage in some kind of like a new church committee, or they're going to investigate the deep state of the intelligence agencies. They're not going to do any of that shit. They're going to be like asking about, you know, suppressing conservative viewpoints in the media and all this bullshit, and just stocking these intelligence agencies with even more ideologically reactionary allies, and purging even any of the mild, moderate liberals that might exist in these agencies. They're not going to be reining in the CIA or the FBI. Right? As much as our like post-left or MAGA communist friends are going to tell us about this. They all want to pivot to like open conflict with China now instead of Russia, and we're supposed to support that. All I would say is that a commitment to nonviolence is not an abdication of your right to self-defense. Yeah, and of course, none of us in this chat as well are violent people. I'm not a violent person. I've never been in a fight in my life. I find the thought of violence abhorrent. But like, there's a situation that is developing where slowly every single other option, when you talk about, again, police violence, the climate, trans rights, or any of these things, where all other options are just being slowly removed from the discussion. And all the nonviolent methods are being used and completely ignored by the establishment. Right? They're deliberately cultivating a situation where that will be the only method left. Does this guy look violent to you? Thank you. Thank you, Red Scary. You know, it's really unfortunate. I would actually much rather that when it came to police violence, when it came to climate or any of these issues, housing, immigrant rights, trans rights, what have you. I would rather that we could just protest and we could just vote and we could just write letters to the city council and change society to make it better for these different communities, to avert the climate crisis, to end homelessness. I would much rather that it was that easy. But unfortunately, none of these methods, these methods within the system, voting, running in the Democratic Party or the Liberal Party, the NDP in Canada or elsewhere, voting, going to city council meetings, signing petitions, it might be able to make a few small little tiny tweaks around the edges, right? And that's not nothing. Can you, using these methods, make actually drastic systemic change to the police, to the way that we consume fossil fuels, to our immigration policy? And so that's one question. And if the answer to that question is no, and I think we all know what the answer is, right? If the answer to that question is no, you can't use these methods to make these kinds of changes, well then, do we actually live in a democracy? Do we have any right to be criticizing or accusing other countries of being authoritarian? What good is free speech? What good is the right to freedom of assembly and the freedom to participate in the democratic process that these like liberal democratic fetishists talk about? What good are any of these rights if it doesn't actually lead to any of the big systemic changes that we know are necessary? What good is it? It's also a matter of what are we calling violence? And this is what we're going to talk about when it comes to this Cop City protest. Ooh, the protests are turning violent. You know, that's when the finger wagging, that's the lecture. That's when the lecture comes out. These protests are turning very violent, folks. But like, as we all understand, clearly the state has the monopoly. The state is the most violent thing there is. And it has a monopoly on that violence. Like, the police can just murder people with impunity. They can build these kind of facilities to literally practice repressing protests and gassing and beating people. They can murder people protesting that. You can commit social murder through economic policies, such as we've seen with the pandemic, like we talked about. And the violence on that scale is just drastically larger and more brutal and more gruesome than anything we could ever possibly hope to do. But when anyone smashes a window, when anyone lights a cop car on fire, that's when we get the finger wagging lecture about the violent protests. You know, I have a couple of animated emotes that I like, but I almost think that I need to do a Rob finger wag emote. It comes up a lot. The finger wagging lectures. It comes up a lot in this program. We might need to do that. Let me just call up some of the stuff I have to look at about this Cop City business. I mean, here's something. Open that in a new tab and open that in a new tab. Okay, so this exemplifies exactly everything we were talking about this phenomenon and the way that Democrats and liberals are on the front lines of defeating these kinds of social movements while simultaneously pretending that they're on the same side. There's no better example than this. So we got this. Here's some of the footage. This was from January 21st. What's this? So a couple days ago. From some of these protests. We got a cop car on fire. Again, who knows who even set these fires? A single cop car on fire. And you have the dramatic images. You have the dramatic images of this cop car on fire. And then what comes out immediately afterwards is you get the lectures from Esther Panitch, Georgia House District 51 rep, who says, "You lose your peaceful label when you intentionally destroy and light property aflame." Oh no, not property. not property. You also lose whatever moral high ground you thought you had. Hashtag no excuse. Protesters become violent, breaking windows, setting Atlanta police cruiser on fire. So those are the lectures. That's the finger wagging. Also, libs literally celebrate the acceptable war heroes, etc. Well, even this kind of stuff, right? We celebrate this when it happens in Russia, or when it happens in China, or Cuba, or Venezuela, right? In fact, we finance it. Or Hong Kong. We finance it. When these kind of violent protests where there's property damage and police officers being attacked, or police property being burned or smashed, when this happens in official enemy countries, we say this is wonderful. The people are rising, they're yearning for freedom. We're literally financing and training these people half the fucking time also, or more than half. And we celebrate it. I resent the fact that I'm driving for this scathingly accurate pre-essence stream today, Rib. I'm sorry to hear that, Johnny. Stay safe out there, though. And everyone subscribe and follow Subversive History. Hot new streamer. Hot in terms of like physical attractiveness. Not sure if it's been covered yet. City of Memphis is on edge due to body cam footage of 5 officers who beat a 17-year-old to death. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, no, I did hear about this, Gray's streams. The officers have been fired. Not a good sign before the footage is released. I did hear about that, and they must know how bad it is. They know how bad it is because they immediately fired the cops because they know how fucking inexcusable it is. You saw that situation the other day. I don't even remember where it is. Like, that's how often this kind of shit happens. Of the disabled man that was just shot with his hands up, coming out of his trailer in the middle of the night. He's gunned down with his hands up, unarmed. And then the cops walk into the trailer and they're like, oh fuck. They literally say like, oh, there's cameras. Because there's cameras that captured the whole thing. That was in North Carolina, yeah. It happens so often that you can't even keep track of it all. So here's more info on Cop City from AJ Plus, which is very interesting too, because it's land that was stolen from the Muskogee, then was a slave plantation. It's really interesting how this history happens. And you see there's a direct link between all that history, the dispossession and the genocide of indigenous peoples, the enslavement of Africans, African Americans, and the modern, what is happening in modern day in Atlanta, and the subjugation and brutalization of these marginalized communities. And now training cops to carry on that same mission on that exact same location.
We construct barricades to keep police out, police, construction, contracting companies. You hear gunshots all the time because there's a police firing range in this. Yeah, you can hear those shots right there.
Occupying this forest is how activists are resisting the construction of a $90 million state-of-the-art police training center protesters call Cop City. The facility will be developed on one of the largest green spaces in Southeast Atlanta, which has a history of oppression.
All of it. It will be clear-cut.
They cannot wait. They just want to go in and bulldoze everything and then write the history the way that they want to write it.
The fate of the forest is up in the air as the police and forest defenders both refuse to back down.
Those people, to me, through their acts, are actually domestic terrorists.
Major corporations are pouring millions into this project, financially pressuring politicians to build Cop City.
Why did you vote to approve this facility?
Surrounding neighborhoods that are more than 75% Black say their concerns have been silenced.
Our opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't count.
It's disrespect. And that's what folks who live here ought to be just enraged about.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Mute.
Fuck. That was probably tremendously inspiring. I'll never get that back. I'll just never get that back. My point was, and thank you, Marty, for... No, I'm not still muted, though, Dane. Don't try and mess with me. I can see the little line moving now. As I was saying, though, I think this is kind of important to talk about when we understand like what we're looking at when it comes to Cop City is actual fascism, right? And a big part of fascism is the blurring of this line between private and public, like this kind of public-private partnership where you have these private interests in charge in the state, basically acting as their violent security wing, essentially. That's always been what America is about, but as we've been seeing in this era, that line is becoming more and more blurry, and as Frank Zappa put it, the curtain is going up at the back of the theater, and we're seeing the brick wall. We're seeing the brick wall at the back of the theater, and Cop City is kind of the example of that. And I think talking about the ways this is like a corporate-sponsored thing is important to understand that, right? This is like a corporate-sponsored this city where, again, these fascist militarized police are going to be training to subdue and attack and gas and assault protesters in the future. It's being sponsored by corporate America. These are the corporate actors behind the ATL Police Foundation, who helped make Atlanta the most surveilled city in the U.S. with its Operation Shield in 2017. Now it's pushing forward the Cop City developments. You got Amazon, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Waffle House, Axon Enterprises, the Atlanta Hawks, Georgia State University, Home Depot, Inspire Brands, the UPS, Delta, Chick-fil-A, all contributing to this project. Fucking Waffle House, I know. Not even Waffle House is safe. Not even Waffle House is safe. Check out the board of the Atlanta Police Foundation to see most of the biggest backers. Yeah, and you can repeat this for any major city, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Once again, showing us that cops are not workers. And the idea that, like, it's a fucking disgrace that police unions are even mentioned in the same breath, or even part of our union movement in the West. Like, it spells the whole thing out right there. The idea that cops are part, and cop unions are part of...
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all
the
this.
The union movement.
My new sub badge, the P badge, is as golden as D's new by Dr. Dre.
Force of Bill, thank you very much. 24 months of tier 3 for Force of Bill. Thank you, Force of Bill, and congratulations to you for the highly elite, highly exclusive 24-month TRRS golden sub badge. It has nothing to do with P, and it's just a golden, prestigious sub badge. Inspire Brands is Arby's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Sonic Drive-In, Jimmy John's, Mr. Donut, Dunkin' Donuts, and Baskin Robbins. Okay. All our faves are implicated.
Atlanta is planning on building a $90 million training ground in the forest to practice urban warfare tactics. Activists are calling it Cop City and saying
sounds
it will harm Black people in the environment.
The facility would be a space where the police could practice tear gas, explosions, bomb testing, have a shooting range, practice high-speed chases. Like, they're literally going to build a mock city of Atlanta to practice different urban warfare tactics. The purpose of this project is to be able to better surveil, better suppress, and better prevent liberation movements that directly address the exploitation that Black and working class communities are feeling.
Atlanta actually increased its police budget after Black Lives Matter protests and a movement to defund the police. More than 70% of Atlantans disapprove of Cop City. In 2021, Atlanta's population was almost 50% black. 20% of Atlantans live in poverty.
The Atlanta police have always been antagonistic towards poor and working class people.
You can
They
count
have
on
been
me.
active
You're gonna have
agents
good
of
old Rob to
gentrification.
talk
Cop
you
City
through all
is
this.
proposed to be built on
TRRS Marx, TRRS Lenin, TRRS Friendship Triangle, TRRS Momo, TRRS Momo, TRRS Momo, TRRS Sankara, TRRS Sankara, TRRS Sankara.
That one was a test. That was a joke. That was a joke that time. Okay? That was a joke that time. I thought it would be funny for you. I thought it would be funny for you if I did the same thing. Okay? Totally intentionally that time. Totally intentional. I gotcha. Was I muted again for the second time? We made it up. It never happened. We all fail. That's why your face is turned red. That's more of a lighting situation. What a knee slapper. Thank you again, Nyan Cat. And yeah, you did kind of interrupt. You interrupted me and then caused this whole situation with that while we're trying to learn about this terrible story. But nonetheless, thank you for the 7 months of Tier 1. Not this time. This one was invented by a writer. You know, here's another problem that I'm having as well, is that when I have this, I don't have the auto exposure on, which makes the video quality better, but then throughout the day, the lighting changes. I think I need better lighting. I need better lighting because I get darker and darker throughout the day. It was that was going on and not the red face thing, as some were speculating. Anyway, let's just go back a little bit. In fact, let's just watch this entire thing because now it's been disrupted, this whole segment. So let's watch this clip again about Cop City, about the sort of origins of it. We could maybe look at that AJ Plus segment as well.
Atlanta is planning on building a $90 million training ground in the forest to practice urban warfare tactics. Activists are calling it Cop City and say it will harm black people in the environment.
The facility would be a space where the police could practice tear gas, explosions, bomb testing, have a shooting range, practice high-speed chases. Like they're literally going to build a mock city of Atlanta to practice different urban warfare tactics. The purpose of this project is to be able to better surveil, better suppress, and better prevent liberation movements that directly address the exploitation that Black and working class communities are feeling.
Atlanta actually increased its police budget after Black Lives Matter protests and a movement to defund the police. More than 70% of Atlantans disapprove of Cop City. In 2021, Atlanta's population was almost 50% black. 20% of Atlantans live in poverty.
The Atlanta
Fuck, I almost did it again. Jesus. I was so close. I was so close to doing it again. But urban warfare, that's something we expect soldiers to train on, not cops. And Irate Lump, I think that's, that's a side benefit to these imperialist wars of conquest as well, right? It's not just about creating a slush fund for the military industrial complex. Obviously, that's part of it. It's not just about securing national resources in other countries. That's part of it. It's not just about subduing revolutionary movements in other countries. That's part of it. It's also providing like a training ground for our future cops to engage in that kind of thing, engage in that kind of training for urban warfare, so they can eventually bring that back home. And now they're building Cop City so they don't have to go and train in Afghanistan, or they don't have to go train in Iraq or Ukraine. They can just do it right here. It's domestic and national security, for sure.
Police have always been antagonistic towards poor and working class people. They have been active agents of gentrification.
Cop City is proposed to be built on land that included a slave plantation and a prison farm. The construction would cut down part of the South River forest, which helps prevent flooding and protects against extreme heat. Activists against Cop City are occupying the forest, building barricades, and protesting against corporate sponsors to stop construction.
Defund the police, abolish them, and invest in the things that actually keep us
can't say that.
We've been ramping up our efforts.
You can't say that. You can't remember, despite all this fucking rampant information about the power of these police unions, the amount of economic consequences there are to just funneling billions of dollars to these police unions while defunding education, parks, housing, every other possible social program, social benefit, even though that's so clear, even when they're training to do urban warfare to destroy protest movements in the future, still can't talk about defunding the police. That's very scary to the Democratic Party. It's very scary to the Democratic Party when you start talking about defunding the police. You can never say that. One must never say that. So this lady's canceled already. She's hurting Why does she want Republicans to win? That's the question. Start saying this kind of stuff.
To get folks in the community trained on things like restorative justice, on medic trainings, on de-escalation tactics, disaster relief, all the things
Nick, how's it going?
We know actually keep us safe when we're in crisis. And so we don't need to call the police. Folks won't feel like they need to engage 911. That will have those skills in our community.
This is all very Trumpy. That's right.
Meet our own needs.
All very, very Trumpy.
Atlanta is planning on
This looks good. Let's watch this this story from AJ Plus. This is from a month ago. So, obviously there's been things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. The murder of that protester in the protest camp that we're learning about here. The way that the police are planting evidence and suggesting that they were violent. This was like a planned raid. It was like a violent assassination, basically. A violent raid on these protesters. And these cops are lying and claiming that one of these guys shot one of their officers. There's no evidence of this, and they're using that to justify the murder of a protester. Real quick, the main orgs are Defend the Atlanta Forest and Community Movement Builders. Community Movement Builders is more of a local org for Black residents of Southwest Atlanta. They're heavily involved in all the work around Cop City, and the main campaign is Defend the Atlanta Forest. Okay, yeah, if you can post those links in the Discord, that'd be great. Thanks, Red Scary. Yeah, so let's look at this. Let's look at this clip from AJ Plus. It's not going to cover everything that's happening over the last couple of days, but it's providing a lot of really key context to understand what is going on in Atlanta with Cop City.
We construct barricades to keep police out, police construction, contracting companies. You hear gunshots all the time because there's a police firing range in this. Yeah, you can hear those shots right there.
Occupying this forest is how activists are resisting the construction of a $90 million state-of-the-art police training center protesters call Cop City. The facility will be developed on one of the largest green spaces in Southeast Atlanta, which has a history of oppression.
All of it. It will be clear-cut.
They cannot wait. They just want to go in and bulldoze everything and then write the history the way that they want to write it.
The fate of the forest is up in the air as the police and forest defenders both refuse to back down.
Those people, to me, through their acts, are actually domestic terrorists.
Major corporations are pouring millions into this project, financially pressuring politicians to build Cop City.
Why did you vote to approve this facility?
Surrounding neighborhoods that are more than 75% Black say their concerns have been silenced.
Our opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't count.
It's disrespect. And that's what folks who live here ought to be just enraged about.
This is all very, very evil, Nick. I haven't been following the story as much as I should have been. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to get caught up in as well. And I think the main thing that I've been pointing out as well, we're talking about, like, as much as we love to lecture other countries around the world about our precious right to free speech and our right to free assembly, the point about Cop City is that, as egregious as it is, again, we're talking, it's $90 million they're using to build this facility to train cops in urban warfare. And as much as people have been trying to stop this the right way, by protesting, by going to city council meetings, making phone calls, doing all the things that they say, this is what you have to do if you want to make change. Well, people have been doing that in response to this project, and it has meant nothing. So the protest, the resistance to it is escalating. The police violence is escalating. The protests are becoming more, there's property damage happening, and now we're getting, what side am I on? The finger-wagging lectures. We're getting the finger-wagging lectures from the media establishment. It's all happening like clockwork.
I still get anxious when I'm, like, coming down.
This forest defender, who goes by Fruit Bat, has been living in trees for the past 6 months.
You know, the banner says stop destroying Earth. The great thing also is that you don't have to destroy the tree to live in it.
These forest defenders are a coalition of activists operating without a centralized leadership.
It makes me feel like I'm part of something greater than myself.
Fruit Bat is using a pseudonym because he's afraid of getting tracked and punished by authorities. The police, FBI, and other agencies are currently investigating the movement against Cop City.
You know, the SWAT team has come through here before and arrested people.
Several protesters were arrested during a police raid after a confrontation in which activists allegedly threw Molotov cocktails at officers. Forest defenders say authorities have continued to destroy tree houses during raids.
Sort of a main gathering.
As we toured the forest, we heard gunshots for hours.
And you can hear the gun firing.
That's coming from a police firing range that already exists nearby. The plan is to expand that into an 85-acre campus. That's as big as nearly 64 football fields put together. The facility would be one of the biggest in the U.S. As you can see here in a video plan provided by the Atlanta Police Foundation, among the training features will be a burn tower for firefighters, a shooting range.
Like, this is not just a training facility. This is a military occupation. And they're not even trying to hide it. We're militarily occupying this community, this city. Yeah, what is this corporate sponsored 65 football field length urban warfare training facility? What you're saying we live in a fascist society? You're saying we live in an authoritarian society? But what? I have the right to protest. I can go and complain about it on Twitter or Twitch or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. What do you mean we live in an authoritarian society? No, of course, none of the comments that I make do anything. None of my precious free speech or precious right to free assembly actually impacts this in any way, but we have those rights. So clearly it's not authoritarian. This is like the logic that we're operating under. It's a paramilitary training camp, like, for sure. Yeah, it's like the military base in Baghdad, for sure. Absolutely. And again, you go into that cop mentality, the cop ideology of like the us versus them. They don't view themselves as being like helping citizens to serve and protect and all that stuff. They view themselves as above citizens. They view themselves as the sheep. They talk about this. They're the sheepdogs that are guarding the sheep from the evil wolves, and that the sheep need to be protected and told what to do, right? They have their own flag. It's the biggest organized gang in the country, or in our society. This is just the pilot program. I anticipate copy cities across North America if this one goes through. Whatever it costs is well worth it. And that's for sure. That's why they're forcing it through no matter what the resistance is to it. Absolutely. I don't doubt it. Pick up that can, citizen. That's right. Sheepdog philosophy. Each person you encounter is either a dumb sheep or a wolf that you have to kill. Jesus is fucking terrifying.
and a mock village, including a school and residential homes. But residents who
They use the mock school to stand outside while there's a shooter going on, while there's a mass shooting being carried out in the school. They practice milling around outside of the school and shooting the shit with one another while it's happening. That's what the fake school is for. They practice all the different chit chat they're gonna do while they wait for the shooter to just tire themselves out. The parents trying to get into the school to save their dying kids drill. Of course, they do the barricade to make sure those parents can't get in there. That's right. The check Twitter in the hallway with your gun in the other hand maneuver. That's right. And if someone could gift Nick Sauce a sub, it would be much appreciated. Nick, truly a valued community member.
who live nearby say they were blindsided by the city's plan to expand the massive police facility.
This happened literally in my backyard. No one has reached out to me. I do see when they ask for votes.
You're going to have a good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Bono Bin Laden.
You can count on me. You're going to have a good old Rob to talk you through all
for the
this.
gifted sub, and thank you also to James. James, thank you, James, for the gifted sub. James, there's a nice accent segment earlier in the stream. I was imitating all the different cultures again, which I know is one of your favorite high points of this stream. Bono Bin Laden coming through again. That's right.
Owns a tow truck business near the proposed facility and lives in a neighborhood that is more than 76%
Another
black.
sub has hit the stream.
The backyard. The forest is literally probably about less than a mile. Police academy is kind of like over there where they train at. So
the existing gun range already disturbs his day-to-day life.
Once the dogs hear fireworks, gunshots, they go to, having all kind of issues, running away. I'm not sure if they're trying to force us out of the community and just take over the whole community overall. But that's what it looked like, the way the path we headed down.
Atlanta's proposal to construct the police facility here speaks.
Have we talked about how cops, when they're about to brutalize people, started blasting copyrighted music from their cruisers so that people record them mutilating and murdering people? They can't put the video on the net because the copyright bots automatically remove it because of the background music. Yeah, I think that's one of the most sinister and dystopian things you can really possibly imagine, right? About our kind of like modern decaying culture. It's incredibly sinister.
To the land's painful history.
That's a very Verhoeven kind of
prison farm
phenomenon.
Until 1995, prisoners there were subjected to harsh punishments and slave conditions, including poor sanitation, nutrition, and overcrowding. Some critics say claims of unmarked graves have not yet been properly investigated. Before that, the land is thought to have been a plantation that enslaved at least 19 people. It was originally stolen from the Muskogee, who lived there until the U.S. government forcefully displaced them to Oklahoma. Today, both activists and tribal members have reclaimed the indigenous name as Willani People's Park.
Getting murdered by the state to the sound of Lady Gaga's Bad Romance. Well, if you're going to go, I guess you might as well go to on a boppin' pop tune, You got to take the wins where you can.
Local advocates have long called for the area to be preserved as a historical site.
Because they just can't wait. They cannot wait. They just want to go in and bulldoze everything and then write the history the way that they want to write it and be done with it. They haven't even done proper, ecological surveys yet.
But Cop City isn't the only facility that the residents have opposed. Around the forest is a Hollywood studio, sanitation center, juvenile prison, and asphalt and trucking factories.
So that's Key Road landfill. Nobody wants to address the environmental injustice of this. Those issues have never been vetted.
The facilities have severely polluted Entrenchment Creek, which flows downstream to the South River. Jacqueline Eccles is trying to prevent the construction of Cop City from an environmental perspective.
When we were here about a month and a half ago, we pulled 100 tires out of the river and 40 or 50 bags of trash. When you look at the rivers, the creeks, none of them meet water quality standards. And the cheapest way to improve water quality is to protect the green space.
In a 2017 report by the city's planning department, the South River Forest was designated one of Atlanta's 4 major lungs. Now, the city is walking back on its vision to conserve the forest.
To just turn around and just disrespect the community, because, it's not, they never cared about the river. So we can accept that. But you're disrespecting the people who live in South Atlanta. And that's
they're training to brutalize and gas and subjugate the people that live there.
Some
of course,
neighborhoods around the forest are more than 90% black and are low income with health challenges such as asthma. Getting rid of the green space will also leave them vulnerable to impacts like stormwater flooding.
And it's not like you can create a situation to moderate the impacts. You can't.
Now keep in mind, during the few times the public did voice their concerns, the overwhelming majority expressed opposition.
They're doing it the right way.
There's no place for me if we got a Cop City going on.
In fact, one hearing in September 2021 lasted for 17 hours, where around 70% of comments were against Cop City.
While you're violently protesting, why don't you go to the city council meetings and write letters to the Congress people and
what is going on with
protest
the city?
peacefully,
Ordinarily,
huh?
you would have a city
They
who
are.
has control over the police.
People
In
are
this case,
doing
the
that.
police
They
have
don't
control
care.
over the city.
So why
They don't give
did
a
council
shit.
members approve this facility? It's important to understand the Police Foundation in Atlanta. It's considered one of the most powerful police foundations in the country. For instance, when the mayor was elected, the CEO of the foundation served on his transition committee. Among those sitting on its
CEO is
board
an
are
interesting
leaders of
job title for
corporations
that
like
as well.
UPS, Wells Fargo, Chick-fil-A, Home Depot, and Delta Airlines. The APF raises investments to finance police projects like Cop City. Of the $90 million needed to build the facility, $60 million will be funded by the foundation's corporate donors. The remaining $30 million will likely be paid by taxpayers. Well before the council voted on the facility, the Police Foundation had been lobbying council members. And the cost? The city leased the land to the foundation for just $10 per year for the next 50 years. 2 of the council members who approved the plan agreed to sit down for an interview.
Like, also, right now, like there's Republicans right now planning to kick even more people off food stamps. You can't even. Not only you're kicking people off food stamps and making sure that they can't get any fucking actual food with their food stamps, any hot food, any fresh meat, anything like that. You know, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for any kind of unemployment benefit, child tax credit, welfare, housing, parks? How are you going to pay for it? Well, money is of no issue, obviously, when it comes to building a fascist paramilitary training center. Literally there to oppress and subjugate and brutalize the community that they're supposed to be protecting. Money is of no object, obviously.
Why did you vote to approve this facility?
It's going to be a big recruiting tool.
We have a duty, I think, and
Democrats.
an obligation to provide our employees with the best in class of everything.
But you also
Democrats.
have an obligation to listen to what the community is saying, right? Do you feel like you've done that?
Yes, I feel that I've done that. I'm a citywide representative. I move around the city constantly.
There were multiple chances for the public to speak. I've never been to a neighborhood planning unit meeting or a neighborhood meeting where I have been told, we don't want this.
So why here?
One, it isn't.
They're going to make it look like the Avengers facility. Yeah, if a single dollar of my taxes goes to anything other than an occupying police force, I'll be pissed. Don't tread on me. Don't tread on me, sir.
What I see as a quote-unquote forest, especially not an old-growth forest. If you go out to the land, which I've been to many times, there's a lot of invasive species.
But those who frequent the park daily say it's brought unique value to the neighborhood.
So to them, it may not be a forest, but to somebody else, it does mean something. The saying is true, one man's junk is another man's treasure. But these are the same individuals don't even live in the community. They don't live in the community. They don't care. What they care? They don't care at all. These same city councilmen, would you allow it in your community? Would you allow this to take place in your community? Would you allow a landfill to be built in your community? Would you allow a police academy of this magnitude be built in your community?
The city is determined to proceed with building Cop City. Meanwhile, forest defenders have demolished equipment that they say attempted to destroy the forest.
It's like become kind of a relic of significance just to show, kind of what happens if people want to come and destroy the forest. It just shows that we're not going to cooperate with the police or talk to the police.
It's why not everyone agrees with the way defenders have been resisting. Some of them have embraced militant tactics, vandalizing police and private contractor vehicles.
That's violence.
Other critics say they do not represent the communities living in Southeast Atlanta.
Okay, we don't see eye to eye on everything, but we are here trying to defend the forest.
The city spokesperson told AJ Plus the current facilities for officers is inadequate and that the new campus is necessary to give officers, quote, up-to-date urban training.
We have
gangs,
etc. We have to be, at the very least, at that level, if not above it.
Less than 3 weeks after the police killing of George Floyd, an Atlanta officer fatally shot Rayshard Brooks in the parking lot of a Wendy's.
How do these gangs form in the first place? Don't ask these questions.
Nationwide calls to defund the police, eventually resulting in the burning of the restaurant and the resignation of the city's police chief.
Oh, the Wendy's got burned. That was very scary stuff.
Police funding to improve
all our liberal friends were very outraged by that. The burning of the precious Wendy's. Oh my, you can't do that. Just because these militarized, reactionary, testosterone-fueled freaks are out there murdering and assaulting people, shooting citizens in the street like fucking animals, that's no excuse to burn down a Wendy's. That's terrible. That's just sinking to their level.
Officers' morale. Atlanta is one of the most surveilled cities in the U.S. with extensive technology financed by the Police Foundation.
Our neighborhoods are essentially occupied by police.
Organizers in majority Black neighborhoods have been looking for internal solutions to combat violence such as de-escalation tactics. Community Movement Builders says the most pressing issues affecting residents are actually food insecurity and homelessness.
Atlanta is, known for being a Black Mecca. It's known for having a lot of Black politicians, but a lot of times those decisions that they make are not in the interests of the Black masses here that are overwhelmingly poor and working class, but rather in the interests of their funders.
The Police Foundation has said it's incorporated public opinion by promising 265 acres as green space and that it will also invest in trails for the public.
Let me put it this way. Whoever thought of the notion that you can create a park-like environment next to a police training facility. You can go out and walk along the trail and just hear the gunfire go off. I mean, it's almost like that's what you're used to anyway, right? So we just bring it in home kind of thing, The Police Foundation says it will move forward with the construction and open by the end of 2023. But families and schools are refusing to let that define the future. They're hoping increased awareness will stop the construction.
The youth. It's very bleak. It is very, very bleak.
This forest is important for me because it reflects what is happening worldwide now. Even though we have an urgency and climate emergency, the rich people of this world, keeps extracting and keep making themselves richer and richer.
Not all protesters we spoke to were anti-police. Some were hopeful officers could receive better training to deal with non-violent cases involving mental health issues.
I'm all for the cops training centers. Do it, because the cops need to be trained, but not at the risk of cutting down the forest.
But they collectively agree they're done letting the city sideline their voices.
This fight is not a fight about what City Hall is going to do. This is a fight about what you and I are going to do. City Hall doesn't have the last word on this fight. We have the last word on this fight.
Black Lives Matter! Stop Cop City!
Back on the front lines of the movement, forest defenders hope to delay construction by nurturing a communal space.
We call this the water buffalo. This is what we use to store water.
People are supporting the movement with water and food donations. From all angles of resistance, people living both in and around the forest are determined to embrace the green space as the anchor of community.
I've just had so many great experiences in those woods. At least these people are out there enjoying it right now.
We're envisioning a society that we want in the future. And the only way to get there is to vision it, to name it, to show it, and to gather people who believe in that vision.
You know, the nature, the preserve, the wildlife, all that kind of good stuff they have brought to this community. Now you're saying, hey, we're just gonna take it away? Come on, that's not right. That's not right by no means.
No, it's not. This is so fucking grim. This whole story is so grim. And like I said, like that's kind of one of the things I've been wondering is whether this Cop City facility, whether the protests that are escalating around this right now, now that one of these protesters has been murdered by the police, like that's the thing that this video came out a month ago and this happened just a few days ago. One of these protesters that they're talking about in the forest has now been murdered by the cops and protests are escalating. You got to wonder if this is going to be the flashpoint for the next round of massive social justice protests in the United States. But like I was saying before, I do wonder whether that moment will ever come again. Now that people are so demoralized, now that people know that like none of these protests will lead to any concessions. When the George Floyd protests literally led to the opposite of what the protest leaders were demanding, is what the largest mass protest movement in modern American history, and it led to nothing whatsoever. Nothing, no concessions whatsoever. So I understand why even people that are very passionate about this are probably a little leery about putting their lives and their livelihoods on the line to protest this or any other injustice. You know? I don't know. It remains to be seen. It got the blackface episodes of 30 Rock off of streaming. That's right. Or no, just like, or George Floyd's individual killer had consequences. Or they opened an investigation into the Breonna Taylor shooting. These individual cases. Meanwhile, there's a George Floyd in America that happens. There's a George Floyd incident that happens every single day. None of the systemic institutions that lead to that level of violence have been addressed in any way. And in fact, they've just been reinforced even more. You know? That's the kind of scary situation, the scary thing. I'm not going to go right yet. I'm coming up on 3 hours. I really need to take a little break. See, I'm so much darker than I was earlier. I got to fix my lighting situation. I think I'm close. And more police killings than ever. That's right, HTA. That's right. Yeah, I'm coming up on 3 hours of the stream, folks. I got to take a break, and I've not been cracking the whip at all when it comes to actually making the number go up. But I do have to mention, now that I'm almost 3 hours into this stream, remember, if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the community, if you enjoy this program, you got to give. We got to make the number go up. So please, if you can, folks, subscribe to this channel. It costs $5 per month. Get all the wonderful emotes. Oh, fuck me. Sorry. Get all the wonderful emotes.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
You can gift subscriptions. You can gift friend coin. It all helps, but I got to make the number go up. The number must go up, folks. And don't put emotes in the sub message. It really messes shit up. I do have another ring light.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Lighting. Don't you want these beautiful, beautiful emotes? That's right. Thank you, unelected. Thank you, Matt. Unelectable Airwaves.
You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you for the 200 friend coin.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you very much,
Using
Lana.
my Bezos billionaire credits to sub.
Thank you very much, Lana, as well, for the 200 friend coin. And you know what, Lana? I think you gave 200 bits the other stream when I was dancing, and I didn't realize I was busy dancing, and I didn't acknowledge your gift, and I appreciate that a lot, Lana. Thank you. And everyone, please follow Freak Museum on Twitch.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Bono Bin Laden, thank you for coming through again with a gifted sub. Thanks, Bono Bin Laden. Big Bin Laden fan over here, as you know. Technomancy, thanks for this 9 months of Prime. Thank you very much, Technomancy. Thank you as well to Chaos the Gardener for the gifted tier 1 sub. Thank you so much. And remember, folks, if there's a generous chatter out there, I will just remind you, there is a brand new alert.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
There's a brand new alert for the most generous of chatters. And if you do want to see this hot, exciting new alert, if you gift 10 subs or above, it will play the new alert, and it's very funny and very exciting. And I'm simply saying, I don't know, maybe doesn't sound interesting to anybody, but maybe there's someone watching this that says, hey, that sounds kind of cool. So I'm just saying that that's something that you could do if you wanted. And thank you to Comrade Social Distancing for another gifted sub. Thank you, Comrade Social Distancing. Okay, now this is way too... Now I'm yellow. That's better. Okay, that's better. Many people are saying that it's amazing. That's true, Sam. Sam Sider, that is true. But remember, folks, also, if you gift 5 subs and above... Now I'm starting to feel pretty good about this lighting. Okay. If you gift 5 subs or above, that is how you, of course, rocket to the very top of the friendship triangle. This is Twitch's only 2-dimensional friendship access.
Wow. Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
It gets me every time. It gets me every time. Don Dark Zoni, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Thank you for the whopping.
You can count on me. You're gonna have
10
good old Rob
gifted subs.
to talk
11
you through all
now.
this.
Goodness gracious. Thank you so much to one of the heroes of this stream, one of the extremely elite members.
Wow. Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Oh my goodness gracious. My goodness gracious. Nyan Cat, thank you so much. Unbelievable. Neon Cat. Don't know how to pronounce it. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs. Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Neon Cat. And thank you, Don Dark Zoni, as well.
You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
For a couple more gifted subs. Jesus Christ. 2 truly elite members of Twitch's only 2-dimensional friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. It's the only such program like this that exists on the platform of Twitch. And the 2 of you are truly 2 of the elite members of this community. Obviously, Non-Dark Zoni may be a little bit more elite because of the nature of the discrepancy in the sub-gifts, but that's okay. I mean, there's the elite member. Yes, of course, there is secret tiers hidden within the elite sector, which we don't talk about often, we don't reference. Yes, those are there as well. The most important thing, though, is that you're both in that elite zone. Thank you to you both. That's very, very kind of you. I really appreciate that, folks. Thank you. The fact that people like you, yes, you, I'm talking to you, that you support this stream and support this community really does mean a lot to me. It allows me to make a small living from doing this stream and doing this show. People seem to get something out of that, though. Don't ask me to explain it. I don't get it either. But that's how it's able to exist, is through the extreme generosity of the community members. And I really, really, really do appreciate it a lot. Thank you. I can see you pointing out that it's us, even clear with this fine new camera experience. That's right, Crimson Tinted. It's a new angle. At a new angle, hopefully a little bit smoother. I think I just need I need to upgrade the lighting ever so slightly. I do have another ring light behind me. I think I might try to get that going. Can we have a friendship triangle meetup, please? The community are people that I want IRL. Well, I'll tell you. What if I told you that there's such we could manifest this, folks. What if we manifested this? This doesn't have to just be merch. This doesn't have to be a merch design. We can manifest this. We can make it real. I know, Lana, it's so sick. We can make this real. It doesn't have to be a joke. It doesn't have to be a meme. Someone reach out to the DPRK tourism board. Yes, we should. Smoke a big blunt at the Pyongyang pyramid. Given what's in what our DPRK handlers tell us is allowed, okay? And if they don't want us to, we're not going to do it, okay? Yes, it would be fun, but we're going to, first and foremost, we're going to do what we're told, okay? We're not going to mess around with any of that shit. If they want to make an exception for us, though, that would be great. Is it legal there? That's interesting. I didn't know that. And go respectfully purchase some propaganda through official channels. Yes. And if you break the rules, I don't know you. I never met you in my life. No, this person, officer, please, this person has nothing to do with this community. I have never met this person in my life. We will disavow all knowledge of you if you break the rules and you get caught. That's on you. Okay? We're going to disavow all knowledge. Anyway, we are making this into merch though, and I'm really looking forward to that. So I got to take a little break, okay? I got to take a little break. We're going to do a little more chit-chat when I get back. And then we'll wrap it up for the day. But thank you so much to everyone who supports the channel. I really, really, really appreciate it. Pfah. That's right, Sean. And that new alert really has paid dividends, hasn't it? Should remember that for the future. Okay, what am I looking at here?
Back oil production. This.
Okay, don't go anywhere, folks. Okay, I'll be back in a couple minutes. Yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. Now the lighting is quite bisexual. It really makes a big difference, because when I start doing the stream, I got a ton of natural light, and over the course of the stream, all the natural light goes away. That's something I'll have to figure out. Let me just check one thing, folks. I have another ring light. I don't even know if I have. I don't know if I even have another USB space. But I'm going to check. I think this is why a lot of streamers end up in airtight rooms. Yeah. But that's not good. I think that's not good when you end up in just like confining yourself to a streaming dungeon. You know? I don't think that's good. We don't want that. That's how they get you. That's when you just clock into your dark streaming dungeon every day. That's how you've realized you've created a prison for yourself, a prison of your own design. Back into the streaming dungeon, Surf. Just hang on one second. I'm just going to see if I have another USB port, even. I need a USB... Obviously, I need a USB thing. What is that? An extender? Not an extender. A USB hub. I think I need one of those guys. Yeah, no, I don't. No, I do not. I'm going to work on the lighting situation. I feel good about the camera angle I got here. Now I'm going to work on the lighting situation. I'm going to get there. Finally, at some point in season 3 of this show, maybe I'll have a solution to this. I do feel like the new camera situation is an improvement. The new camera angle situation. So I don't know, what else do we have here? I think I've said all that needs to be said for today on Cop City. Don't really have the time to get into anything else too heavy or serious. I'm going to have to get going relatively soon. Moving my whole desk setup right next to the balcony sliding door is a major upgrade. Yeah, like the front window is right directly in front of me. And I get so much in the morning. I get a large amount of sunlight in the morning. And then right after I start the stream, it starts to all go away. If you look back on like what I looked like 3.5 hours ago, it's night and day. It's literally a night and day difference in terms of the lighting situation. Richie Rich over here with his sunlight. I know. I can't do a streaming dungeon anymore, though. It's not healthy. It's not good. It's not good for my mental health to have a streaming dungeon that I go down to every single day. A pitch black little cube you isolate yourself in. No, thank you. I'll find a way to make this work. What is this Wagner anti-France cartoons from Africa? That sounds kind of interesting. High octane performance. That's what you get from this stream. Day in, day out from me.
C'est le rat Emmanuel. Il est votre ami. Il est venu pour vous aider. Vous ne pouvez rien faire sans lui. Vous avez besoin de lui. Les rats ne volent jamais. Au contraire, ils donnent beaucoup de bien. Le colonialisme, c'est un mythe inventé par les rats.
C'est ma maison maintenant. Dégage.
Obviously, I think it's problematic when we start dehumanizing people and comparing them to rodents. Terrible tradition. Terrible historical tradition that has led to all kinds of terrible things. When it comes to the French, though, I think we got to allow it, unfortunately, especially when it's coming from Africa. I think we got to allow it, unfortunately. Oh boy. I'm all kinds of conflicting emotions there. Conflicting emotions. It's like, should I be supporting this? Probably not, but it's kind of hard not to at the same time. You know, it's kind of hard not to. I'm so dark now. It's so dark. Jeez. It's a rich tapestry. It really is. It really is. So what time is it here? 3:20? You know what I could do? You know what I could do? Sun's getting real low, big guy. That's right. That's right. Although I do kind of like this, though. I like this. It's just I gotta have more consistency, I think, is the issue. You can really see the bisexual lighting now. I stream in the dark of night anyway, so it's all good. Well, that's the thing. If I had vampire hours, it wouldn't be an issue. I would just look like this all the time. Unfortunately, I can't keep vampire hours anymore because I'm a family man. It's one of the things you give up when you become a parent. On that subject, though, and I don't know if John McCain's ghost is in the chat anymore or not. On that subject, though, I have been. My mom remained a night person. That's impressive. I have had success, a certain amount of success lately with the bedtime situation with my kid, which has made certain evening activities really very, very difficult, including movie nights. Okay, so. I think I don't want to guarantee anything, And again, I don't know if John McCain's ghost is in the chat still. I do believe, though, that this week we could do a community movie night to watch the film Alien, which I've been talking about doing for, I think, months at this point. I think a tentative Wednesday Alien viewing. How do people feel about that? A tentative Wednesday viewing of Ridley Scott's 1978 sci-fi masterpiece, Alien, in the TRRS Discord server at 9 Eastern. I was able to watch The Last of Us at 9 with my partner yesterday, which is a huge... The idea that we were able to, at 9, be able to do stuff is, life-changing, almost. We're so used to this guy. This guy hates to sleep. So, tentatively, I'm going to say... Aliens, the sequel Up the Reds, was 1986. Alien, the original, was 78. I just don't think about Prometheus, James. I just don't think of it. It's not canon, okay? That's the. I don't care that Ridley Scott made it. I don't care what anyone says. Prometheus, not canon. I'm banning it from the Alien canon, okay? It's not part of it. So, tentatively, I'm going to say 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. If you would like to watch the film Alien in the TRRS Discord, which you can join by clicking on the link in the chat. Oh, fuck. Sorry. I can't chat there. I've got to chat over here for some reason. Who knows why? Who knows why? But join the Discord server, and tentatively on Wednesday evening, we can watch that film. And then after we watch Alien, we can of course watch Aliens, which is the one that I really want to watch. But we got to do it in order. We got to do this the right way. The Alien prequels suck. Aliens 3 and 4 suck. I'm kind of an Alien 3 apologist. I like Alien 3 a lot. I don't think it's on it reaches the same heights as the first two films. And I was not a fan of Alien Resurrection either, but I do kind of enjoy Alien 3. And in fact, speaking of David Fincher, I did watch David Fincher's film The Game again with my partner on Friday, which I had been meaning to watch again for a while. And fuck, it's so good. I love The Game. David Fincher's The Game with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. Awesome flick. Great little thriller. I love how the paranoia gets ratcheted up in this film. I'm a big fan of the film trope, the suspense film trope of when the protagonist starts trying to explain what's happening to them, to their friends and colleagues, and they start sounding like an insane person. There's a great element of that in The Game. When Michael Douglas is starting to explain, no, I went to this Consumer Recreation Services and I had to sign this waiver. No, there was an invisible ink. And oh shit, there's no such business at the office where I'm leading all the people to and everything. And everyone starts looking at him like, are you all right? Everything okay? I love that trope. And The Game is really good. Great score. It's just expertly done. It's just an expertly made flick. That's really that's quite a 3-film run. How old was David Fincher when he made... So he made, in the span of 3 years, he made 7, The Game, and Fight Club. One after the other. What was Fincher, 28, 29? That's an iconic all-time 3-film run by any director. Any filmmaker. You know, that's like really up there with just about anybody. I've actually never seen Cube. I've never seen that one. So tentatively, and according to Marty, we've already set the event. So tentatively, I believe we can make this happen. I believe we can do it. Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Ridley Scott's Alien, and then when we do that, we'll plan a screening of James Cameron's follow-up. 2 big pieces of the Rob oeuvre, the Rob canon, which I'm often talking about. We love Ripley, folks. Marty set the event because Rob promised it would happen unconditionally. I feel good about it, okay? I feel good about doing it. As always, I got a young son. Sometimes these things can be, more difficult to arrange. I feel good about it, though. Okay? I go on vacation on Thursday, though, the weekend. So we're going to hold the movie whether Rob is there or not. Oh, fuck. Oh, my gosh. That's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure. Goodness. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow, all right? Remember, if you're not subscribed to the channel, smash the follow button, make sure you're following the channel, and please join the Discord server and sign up for the alerts so you get an alert when I go live. Okay, obviously I appreciate everyone that can subscribe to the channel, but if you can't, please just join the Discord, hit the follow button. Costs nothing at all. Costs nothing at all to do. I will be back tomorrow at noon Eastern, and Wednesday at noon Eastern, and Thursday at noon Eastern. Rob, you're an American hero living in Canada. Many people are saying this. Many people say this about me. It's commonly known as that. Thank you. And I will be also on Friday at noon Eastern as well, just in case that wasn't clear. So goodbye for now. That's all. You're already gone. Maybe some of you are still watching. Maybe some of you are still watching. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't time it well because I couldn't see the countdown. But for real though, goodbye. See you tomorrow.